technically second session, but in terms of canon, the first session of Star Trek Adventures Ophion. I don't really have much in the way of announcements, other than the fact that this episode might be a two-parter, depending on what you guys do. And if that's the case, then we'll have to judge where you guys are in the adventure, and we might have to do some sort of like combined episode type thing for the next session. But we'll play it by ear, kind of a thing. The other note that I have written down here is if you guys, either watching or you as players, want a specific type of holodeck episode in the future, let me know sometime soonish. It's definitely in the pipeline, kind of a thing. But unless anyone has any announcements of their own, I think we're good for the captain's log.
All right. Captain's log, stardate 54736.7. It is my hypothesis that Starfleet Engineering purposefully builds new starships with a few subpar systems prior to launch. This way, the ship's engineering team is able to gain a complete understanding of the systems, as well as gain a sense of ownership of the now fully operational starship. Commendations to Lieutenant Commander Mirthrin and his team, some of whom I'm told have volunteered double shifts. As we near Deep Space Nine, the Ophion is at peak performance once more. Well, almost. My Ready Room replicator still refuses to create anything but Vulcan coffee. I can't stand the stuff, but my XO tells me it's an authentic recreation. I'm glad my quarters are on deck too. As we reach Deep Space Nine, I've called for the first staff meeting of my senior staff to ensure that we're all on the same page as we reach the station and to prepare for the next leg of our journey. Cardassian space and beyond. No, it's just Mirthrin just doing more power systems checks.
Yeah, I really hope the jets aren't flying overhead today, because that would be severely annoying. Anyway, so as the captain said, you all have been called into a meeting of the senior staff, and that's where we're going to open up the game. All of you are in the conference room that is on deck one, a little ways off of the bridge, and I'll let you guys take it away.
Well, it has been a very busy few days getting us up and running, and I figured as we approach the station it would be a good time just to catch up and figure out what has been done and what we need to do at the station. So, XO, status on ship and crew?
I believe we are at current moment operational as we approach the station. I have some observations that I've briefly written down considering the crew, and some suggestions as for crew operations within the ship. It is my understanding that it's traditional for Starfleet crew to have some sort of scheduled group recreation. I understand that most races are predisposed to the emotional effects of music, and I will be sending out an unofficial query to determine suggestions for this group activity. It is also my observation that, considering the service records of the crew and observations of them, that we have an almost equal complement of experienced officers and recent academy graduates. I suggest that we focus on creating duty shifts that maximize the interaction between these two groups to facilitate an efficient training of the fresh-faced crew in practical ship operation. And that is all I currently have to say at the moment.
That's those ideas sound logical, and I encourage you, as well as every other senior staff, to encourage such cooperation among their teams. Lieutenant Commander Mirthrin, I understand that it's been rather busy in engineering.
Yes, well, I mean, we've managed to iron out all the fluctuations in the EPS conduits from little adventure during the high warp maneuver, but I still haven't managed to pin down exactly what happened. It was something to do with the warp field interactions, we believe, but I'm still trying to come up with a solid theory.
Is that going to hamper the use of our multi-vectored assault mode?
In theory, no, it's just I'm losing a lot of sleep over it. As long as we don't try to merge during high warp, we shouldn't have a problem.
Noted. I'll have a Sona slow down next time. Do you foresee us needing anything from Deep Space Nine other than a spitshine?
No, the crew's doing their jobs admirably, actually.
Wonderful. I don't suppose you could spare someone to look at my replicator at some point.
It's on the list. Someone should get to it by next week.
I deflate at that. Very well. At least it's a short turbolift ride down to a working replicator. Your team's efforts are noted in my log. Thank you so much. Commander Beckett, I've noticed that it's come to my attention that you're still missing a piece or two from your manifest?
That is correct. Besides some personal items that did not make it aboard, which really isn't that big of an issue, we're also short supplied on our allotment of Stenofil. It's a drug to prevent anaphylactic shock. Apparently, it was deemed not important enough to be put on board, so I'm going to see if I can scrounge some up off of DS9. Beyond that, we're short the envirosuits that we gave to the colony that we answered the distress call to. And one other thing that worries me is that as of right now, we have enough people to stock sickbay around the clock, but if we go into MVA, we will not have enough people to cover 3 separate sick bays. The EMHs will do their part, but I'd like to start training some extra people in more advanced first aid in case we use the MVA more.
That seems prudent. Work with Panek and pick 5 people from around the ship just to who have at least some first aid training and are willing to take on the extra responsibilities.
Not a problem. That's actually what I was thinking of, how I was thinking of handling it myself.
Neck nods.
And Lieutenant Lindholm, I understand that you probably haven't had many things to shoot at in the last few days, but is everything good from a tactical point of view?
Yes, Captain. After our last tests, does not appear to be anything that has changed, so assuming nothing happens in our travels, we should be good to go the next time we need to make some things disappear.
Wonderful. If there is nothing else from my staff, I do have a couple of things I wish to bring up. Very well. First is just to iron out the order of the chain of command. Of course, Lieutenant Commander Panek is the ship's XO and will be performing all duties of command if I am indisposed or off ship. If for some reason both him and I are indisposed for an extended period of time, the ship's command will fall to Commander Beckett, being the most ranking officer on ship, barring, of course, if he is experiencing a massive medical emergency. In which case, Lieutenant Commander Murthrin, command of the ship will then fall to you. And should everything happen, or should everything not happen the way we like it to do, Lieutenant Lindholm, you'll you'll have command of the ship until one of the ranking officers comes back. Any questions?
Seems all very straightforward, sir.
Wonderful.
No questions.
I've also noticed that we need to be using and training with this ship's holographic personnel more often. I understand the reluctance, of course, of relying on such technology. I seem to recall a report from our Commander Beckett of him having to deal with 20 of the EMHs that had mysteriously appeared in sickbay.
You have no idea how annoying that was.
I admit I do not. I'm just glad he's back down to his one form. But at the same time, we need to train our personnel to work alongside the holographic engineering and security personnel in case of an emergency. We need to think if the ship experiences a crisis and the humans are not used, or the organic personnel are not used to working with the holographic personnel, it could cause a dangerous situation to become critical.
Understood. I'll organize having one assist with duty shifts on the rotations.
Okay. And I would also encourage you to read up on the treaties of the holographic doctor from Voyager. They are, of course, still in the Delta Quadrant, but there has been a ruling from the Justice Advocacy Group on the holographic, or the rights of a holographic individual as an artist. They may not be a life form, but there is some individuality. I encourage you to treat such beings as organic as you and I.
Captain, it is my understanding from the records transmitted from Voyager that their hologram has has had extensive modification in order to replace the appointment of a real medical doctor.
That is correct. Such modifications are obviously unique to Voyager's situation, but we ourselves are going out into the unknown, where we may find ourselves having to deal with similar modifications to our own holographic personnel. I would hope that such a disaster not happen, but we have to be prepared for all eventualities. If there is nothing else?
Actually, if I may have a moment in private when the rest of the senior staff has left, Captain.
Absolutely. I'd like to speak with you and Commander Beckett right after this meeting anyways.
I see.
Very well. Mirthrin and Lindholm, you are dismissed.
Very well, sir.
Yes, sir.
And Murthrin makes his way out.
So those two filter on out, and again, I will apologize. I might be muting myself quite a bit because apparently today is Jet Day. So I will again apologize for having to mute myself and if it sneaks into the recording. Anyway, with those two out of the way, Skull, you're now left with Panek and Beckett in the room with you.
So, as we reach Deep Space Nine, there is a more personal matter that I wish to bring to Commander Panek's attention specifically. I believe that Commander Beckett has read over my file already, but I would like both Beckett and Panek to be aware of my mental condition.
Okay.
I turn to them and I say, yeah. So, as Commander Beckett is probably aware, I have suffered from astrophobia for a long time in my youth as well as into present day. To I'll keep matters simple. During the Dominion War, I suffered a psychotic episode and was sent back to Trill for the best case. For a psych evaluation, I guess would be the best way to put it. They needed to ensure that my symbiote and myself would still work well as a pair. Their methods were barbaric, I guess would be the best term to use, but effective. Once they transferred me back to Starfleet Medical, then they put me through the advanced counseling and rehabilitation sessions and exposed me to the command chain, or the command training. So I am now, they believe that I am fit to be captain, but at the same time, I will always have this lingering phobia in the back of my head. And that is why I'm bringing both of you into this, is that if either of you believe that I am incapable of performing my duties as captain, you are to relieve me.
You seem to have beaten me to the proverbial punch, Captain. This topic is what I happen to want to speak to you privately about, but if you feel okay with sharing this with Commander Beckett.
Beckett, of course, is CMO. His duties are to the medical well-being of ship crew and captain. So I believe that I am authorizing Commander Beckett to share any of my astrophobia information with you, Commander, and likewise feel free to talk to him about that.
I have given some thought to the concerns you voiced over my assignment as your executive officer.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to assuage any fears that you might harbor that I have been placed here by Starfleet Command to report on you.
I appreciate that.
As far as I am am aware, my appointment was based solely on merit.
No, in reviewing your logs and service record in great detail, I believe that Starfleet Command put you as my XO because you will act if I do not.
If I may speak freely and perhaps a little boldly, Captain.
Absolutely.
Please forgive any impertinence, but after considering your concerns in conjunction with your service record and recent recovery, I have come to perhaps one conclusion that these concerns are in fact self-doubt as to your ability to command the ship.
I would be lying if I said that I was approaching captaincy with 100% confidence in my abilities. But at the same time, Starfleet Command sees something in me that I might not have, and has seen fit to place a very good support network around me. So long as I maintain the trust of my first officer and chief medical officer and the rest of the crew, I have no doubt that this will be a wonderful and splendid mission.
As your executive officer, I would like to impart on you that I do not believe these to be failings, but rather another facet of your nature, and that given your responsibility and position, it would be unwise if you do not question your own orders. However, I would like to remind you that self-questioning should not become self-doubt and then inaction. If you find yourself within moments in moments like these, all you need to do is turn to me.
I appreciate your support, XO. Do you have any questions or concerns, Beckett?
No, sir. As you said, I was already aware of the of your medical condition. It's, I believe, part of the reason that I was on the short list to come here, because that is something that I'm what's the word I'm looking for? I specialize in. It is something that I've dealt with before. Though I don't like the CMO's job of taking command or making someone officially unfit for duty. It's something that I will do given the opportunity. But I don't see that that's going to be a problem.
Oh, splendid. I You will understand if I keep the specifics of my recuperation between me and the counselor. I'll authorize her to give any information to you guys as necessary. But, counselor-patient confidentiality is a little different, especially some of the stuff I went through. Anyways, gentlemen, let's resume our stations and let's get ourselves to Deep Space Nine.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Dismissed.
All right. So all of you filter out of the conference room and back onto the bridge.
Welcome to the utopian 24th century where we talk about our problem.
Exactly. Unless anyone has any pressing things they want to do, I will go ahead and jump into the monologue. So did anyone have any last minute things they wanted to do before we get to DS9?
Nope.
Monologue away.
All right. So, the remaining hours in your trip to DS9 pass pretty much without incident. All of you are on duty when Lieutenant Sona brings the Ophion out of warp just off of the station. DS9 is just as all the vid recordings make it out to be, but seeing it in person might be somewhat of a defining moment for some of you. After all, DS9 is, for all intents and purposes, the only station anywhere even close to the area of space that you'll be operating in. This might be the last chance you get to acquire any last-minute or missing supplies before your official orders come in. But before you can really start to think about that, a hail comes in from DS9, and when the view screen switches to the incoming communication, you all see the image of Captain Kira Nerys. She looks around at those present and then says, "Welcome to DS9, Captain Skull. I trust your shakedown cruise was fruitful."
We found lots of bugs that we managed to shake out of our systems. We should be ready to proceed with our next set of missions.
Well, I suppose that's good and bad news. I have some of my own. The good news is that, according to Rear Admiral Thesso, you have a 2-day layover before I am to pass along the orders from Thesso. But the bad news is that the only pylon we were able to fit you guys in is Upper Pylon 3.
Why would that be bad news?
And she kind of thinks for a few moments in that typical Kira way, trying to diplomatically say something without saying she shouldn't. And finally she comes out and says, "It's very small. If you were expecting to be able to cart supplies in and out with ease, it probably would be better just to transport."
Well, I appreciate the forewarning. Our transporters have gotten a little bit of use, but I'm sure our chief would love to use the opportunity to test them further.
Of course, of course.
I thank you for your greetings, and I look forward to meeting you and the crew and our time on DS9.
Understood. Kira out. And the view screen cuts back to the image of DS9, which I actually have a map for. Unless you decide to... Oh, go ahead.
Not quite to scale.
Yeah, not quite to scale. Unless you have Lieutenant Sona ram the station, Sona will bring the Ophion very expertly into Upper Pylon 3, and there is kind of an overarching locking down sound as the pylon and the ship kind of interlock and form an airtight seal. It is at this point that I would like to open the floor for any and all of you to do as you wish during this 2-day layover. I know I mentioned it, or mentioned some of this during our pre-game kind of, shooting the shit. But if there's a particular character from the show or a particular character that you're looking for in general, I have a pretty good idea of who's here and who isn't. But feel free to check me on that. But yeah, would anyone like to go first, or should I just start at the bottom and work my way up?
Well, Murthrin's probably going to spend as much time on the ship as off. He's still kind of obsessed with that EPS conduit problem.
Okay, why don't we have you roll a reason plus engineering at a difficulty of 2.
Reason engineering. Yep.
Okay. So
2 on the dot.
it's taken you probably all this time to realize. So the problem, best you can tell, is that the conduits themselves were made out of a faulty material. And it's not so much a factor that the EPS conduits were happened to be part of the separation plane. That was merely coincidence. I'd say in almost the week that it's taken you to get here, you and your fellow engineering staff have gone over everything, and you think that it just was simply a happenstance defect kind of a thing. But to the best of your knowledge, it is fixed for the time being.
He accepts it, but he doesn't trust it.
Were all the conduits made out of this material?
They were, but it's sort of the difference between batches. So, one batch of material might have been great, but then when they switched over to another, it wasn't. But again, that would have been something that Murthrin and his team would have gone over, with a fine tooth and nail comb kind of a thing. You're not expecting any EPS blowouts in the near future, kind of a thing.
Pinnock
Even managed to filter out one or two faulty boxes before they even got opened.
Exactly.
So probably need to stock up on a few before we leave.
Okay. Pinnock, you were saying something.
Pinnock will spend some time on the bridge going over modified duty rosters, since some people will be obviously taking some shore leave, and overseeing any supplies that need to become on board. And then, as he's probably been Deep Space Nine quite a few times as a staging ground during the Dominion War, he'll wander down to Quark's.
Okay. So you enter into Quark's, and it is pretty much unchanged from the last time you were here. There's still the Dabo tables with the scantily clad Dabo girls. You've got Morn sitting at his usual seat. Quark is currently engaged with some kind of conversation with a looks like a Tholian, or not a Tholian, a
Good grief, a
Benzonite.
Tholian.
Yeah, no, definitely not a Tholian. A Benzonite on his little view screen that he has in the back of the bar. But as you walk in, and do you, I'm assuming, take a seat at the bar, or?
I catch the attention of one of the bartenders as Quark is busy, and I order a Vulcan spiced tea.
Okay. Where do you sit?
At a table near a Dabo table.
Okay. So sure enough, I would say after about maybe a minute of waiting, one of the Ferengi waiters comes back over with a Vulcan spice and just kind of hands it to you and says, will this be on your tab?
I guess, how do we handle that? I guess you tab it to the ship, bill it to the ship.
So, out of character, and again, this is something that I've had to kind of rule with the other game, is that as Starfleet officers, you guys do get a small allotment of latinum, even though it's at this point in the galaxy. From my understanding, is that latinum is starting to be phased out as a like major currency. I might be wrong, but it's definitely one of those things where they still want to give you guys something to trade. So it's not just Starfleet saying give me X and you're giving it to me because I'm Starfleet kind of a thing.
Ferengi cannot be happy about that.
Well, I mean, you have to remember that at this point in time, the Ferengi that the shows initially had has been changed dramatically. As the quote unquote last bastion of Ferenginar, Quarks is very much in the old style ways. So it is good to have latinum on hand.
Well, then in that case, I'll flip this guy the recorded, slips or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But my real intention here is to observe and kind of gather information about the current state of the quadrant and what the feeling here is before we go into Cardassia.
Okay. How do I want to have you roll this? Let's do a insight plus con. Yeah, let's do insight plus con or command. Insight plus con, command or con, one of the two. And we'll say the difficulty here is a 2. All right, very good. So you are going to pick up a few tidbits about the situation. So the current state of the Cardassians' territory is that so far the Romulans and the Klingons have kind of carved these big old large swaths out of the former Cardassian territory. The Semperia sector is controlled by the Romulans, and the Dopa sector is controlled by the Klingons. You're able to tell or pick up that there is some sort of demilitarized zone between the two empires, and it is regularly patrolled by vessels belonging to both, but also as Starfleet. So Starfleet is kind of providing a peacekeeper slash mediation kind of role in this corridor. Mostly because they don't want the Romulans and the Klingons to spark another war, kind of a thing. But I'll say that's pretty much what you get with your success there.
All right. I guess I'll just finish his tea and then wander about the upper pylon observation deck.
Okay. Who would like to go next?
I'll go.
Yes.
Oh, go back. You can go back it.
Okay. I was talking and I was muted, so otherwise I would have been talking quicker. So I definitely want to go down to sickbay and try to scrounge together filling the gaps that we have as far as supplies.
Okay. So you walk into DS9 sickbay, and sure enough, Dr. Julian Bashir is there on duty. And as you walk in, he just kind of turns around and says, "What can I do for you, Commander?"
Well, I am here with the USS Ophion. We just finished our shakedown cruise, and of course, we're missing some supplies. So I'm hoping that you can spare some extra stenophyll, as well as point me in the direction of who to talk to about environmental suits.
Well, the first I can certainly arrange to have some of our stores transferred to the Ophion.
Wonderful.
The second, you probably want to talk to Nog up in the oh god, it's not the bridge. What is it called?
Ops.
Thank you. Up in Ops, he's been kind of playing the role here and there of station security whenever the Bajorans are not on duty.
Okay. That'll be easy enough. But yeah, if you can spare some of the stenophyll, that would be greatly appreciated.
So he just kind of taps at a pad and says, "Already arranged to be delivered."
Excellent. Thanks for the help.
Of course, and Commander, if you have a moment,
Sure.
he kind of beckons you to come a little bit closer.
I'll walk. I'll sit down in front of his desk.
Okay. He leans in a little bit and says, "Is it true that you've got an android aboard?"
That is correct. Yes. She is our helmsman, Lieutenant Sona.
Interesting. I had the pleasure of meeting Lieutenant Commander Data before the Enterprise went down. Fascinating experience. Fascinating man. Have you had a chance to get a look at her yet?
I give him a look of kind of like a look of Well, of course I have, but I tell him, well, yes, she's our helmswoman. Like I've seen her during our shakedown cruise, and she actually gave us the tour of the ship.
Well, I meant more. Have you seen her insides yet?
Well, if we were talking about anything other than an artificial life form, I would almost be embarrassed that you asked me that question. But no, I have not. I have been studying up on it, as she's going to be the first that I may or may not have to tend to.
Ah, see, this is why I asked the question. And of course, part of it is out of character. Part of that is just Bashir being awkward. Um, but
Well,
he,
if she was on the station, I'm sure he would already be following her
oh yeah.
and professing his love.
I think at this point he's still with Dax, but I wouldn't put it past Bashir.
I mean, come on, it's Bashir.
Yeah, it's Bashir. It's his entire character to do such things.
Oh
Anyway,
man,
um, he just kind of smiles and leans back and says, I might be able to help you if you ever discover that this android of yours, Sono was it, ever has dream sequences. That was something that I was able to observe when Lieutenant Commander Data went through it.
If I run into that problem, I will not hesitate to send you a message and we can compare notes.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you for your time, Commander. I appreciate it.
Not a problem, and thank you for the supplies. It was really kind of shocking to realize that they didn't stock my sickbay complete.
It was the same way when I first got here many years ago. Didn't have half the things I needed.
And the other half was all written in Cardassian.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for your time, Doctor, and again, if I run into that problem, I will definitely give you a holler.
Of course. And then, he does the very polite thing where he waits for you to start walking towards the door before he picks back up his pad and continues reading.
And then I'm going to... I'll go up to Ops.
Okay.
And try to track down the smallest Ferengi. And try to talk to him about the environmental suits.
Okay. So, you go up to Ops, and sure enough, Nog is seated where Chief O'Brien used to be. And as the turbolift comes up and you disembark, Nog kind of looks over and says, Commander Beckett, I believe, yes?
That is correct. I have been told you are the Ferengi that I need to see.
Ah, well, then you've heard right. Come, let us discuss business.
Officially, I am looking for environmental suits. We responded to a distress call, had to give them some of ours, so I'm just trying to replenish stocks. Unofficially, I'm looking for something else, but we can get to that in a minute.
Well, the former, if you don't mind Bajoran-style exosuits, or not exosuits, but EVA suits, I certainly can get you all the Bajoran type that you could ever want or need. But go ahead.
I will happily take those.
Excellent. And he taps a few things on his station and says, "They will be delivered to the Ophion. But tell me, what is this unofficial thing that you require?"
So, I have this hobby. And this hobby is to make alcohol. Of the drinking kind. And I wasn't able to get certain supplies on board my ship before we left dry dock. So, I was wondering if you could get me in touch with someone who happened, especially if it's Bajoran, because, they have this large tract of land that they could grow it on, of actual yeast. Not replicated, actual yeast.
Yeah, I think I know a guy. I'm assuming you would like it before the Ophion leaves, but Do you have any preference as to the amount?
As of right now, I just need a small amount. I'm not making it to distribute it yet. And so very small amount. Maybe a crate, maybe two. But if it can't be acquired before the Ophion leaves, we'll be in the sector, so we'll be able to come back later on, and I can pick it up.
Oh, not to worry. Best thing about having a Ferengi running ops is we get things done. And I'll do you a solid, Commander. If you promise to give me or my uncle a bottle from your first batch, we'll call it square.
That is more than reasonable, and you got yourself a deal.
And he does the very typical Ferengi thing where he motions to shake your hand.
And I'll shake his hand and smile and said, "I knew I needed to find the smallest Ferengi."
He thinks about saying something, but you're higher ranking, so he thinks better of it.
And knowing what's going through his head, I just give him a really big smile as I'm still shaking his hand. And then thank him again, and I'll leave ops and probably head down to Quark's just to get a drink and kind of relax for a little bit.
Okay.
And I'd imagine Murthrin's probably wandered over there at this point, because, he gets a little twitchy if he's left on his own for too long.
Okay. Panek, I'll say if you want to still be at Quark's when these guys walk in, but it's entirely up to you.
That sounds fine with me.
So I would say that the two of you, Murthrin and Beckett, at the very least, as you walk into Quark's and find your seats. At this point, Quark has gotten into a heated argument with Morn about whether a Romulan or a Klingon takeover is imminent. It's a very heated discussion. And
very one-sided?
Well, mostly one-sided. It's mostly Morn going on about how, we're all going to die, and why are you telling me this, kind of a thing. I got enough of this during the Dominion War. And Quark's just like, yeah. He's doing that bartender thing where he's just kind of nodding and saying, yep, because he has nothing to interject in the conversation. It's mostly Morn just freaking out, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Also, the camera only pans over when it gets to Quark's part of the conversation, of course.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're not on camera.
But walking in, again, as if we're walking into the scene, mid-conversation, I'll tell Murthrin. So I was able to get us replace those environmental suits that we gave to that science location. And unfortunately, though, the only ones I could get my hands on were Bajoran type, so you and I may have to go over them to make sure that they're up to snuff.
Oh, I don't imagine there being too much problem. I mean, like the Bajorans know how to look after their equipment.
True. Just I'm always worried when it's not fresh sealed out of the Starfleet cellophane, if you know what I mean.
Understandable. But been a while since I was in a pub like this.
Yeah, this is probably the closest thing you're going to find to a pub this far out.
True. We'll see if we can't. We'll see if we can't liven up 6 Forward at some point.
Yeah, it would be nice if the duck wasn't so sterile.
Yeah, I still haven't worked out what's wrong with the hollow emitters.
Well,
I think it's a program stuck in the memory.
Well, it's probably somebody on the construction team that changed it to what he wanted while he was working in the area and just never changed it back.
Would not surprise me.
Pinnack approaches, gentlemen.
Commander?
Okay.
Is this your first time aboard Deep Space Nine?
No, no, the Odette stopped here once or twice in the earlier years of the war. Didn't really get much chance to relax though.
I've been here a few times. The Hope stopped pretty regularly to pick up patients and or drop off replacements for some of the ships. So it's kind of an old hat at this point.
It is certainly quite the oasis in the sector.
That's very true. I mean, if you ever get a chance to actually get down to Bajor, that's, other than being back home on Earth, that's the closest you're going to get to paradise, honestly.
Yeah, how is the rebuilding coming along?
Well, the last time I was down there, they had pretty much rebuilt most of the major cities. They kind of escaped unscathed from the Dominion, anyways. Cardassians, not so much, but the Dominion seemed to, at least nominally, what's the word I'm looking for? Respect their non-aggression with the Bajorans.
I understand that the reclamation of the Jakor province is coming along nicely, and that their agricultural systems will be quite abundant.
Yes, the agriculture. I can't think of what the Bajorans call, let's say, ministry, has done a really great job of getting the breadbasket back together, in kind of a short amount of time.
Can I get you a round of drinks, fellows?
Yeah. See if he can spare any Andorian ale. That sounds like a wonderful idea right now.
I'll see if he has any. And Murthrin goes over to get some drinks for everyone.
Okay. So as you're giving Quark your order, he taps at his pad, and then he says, "Yeah, I can get you all that, but." And he leans in at this. Would you be interested in any blood wine or gah? I've got 6 crates of this stuff in the back, and I'm trying to get rid of it.
Do I know anyone on the crew has an interest in Klingon food?
So that's something I'm actually going to ask, kind of an open question to you guys as a group. Would you guys be interested in having Klingon support characters in the future?
I wouldn't say no.
I would be all for it. Klingon or Cardassian at this point.
Okay. So in that case, I'll say that you can think of maybe a couple of crewmen that would certainly love either blood wine or the gah.
Well, as luck would have it, Quark, I believe we do have a couple of crew who are quite partial to the stuff. Maybe we can take a crate off your hands?
He turns the pad around and holds it out to you. 5 strips and it's yours.
I think, has Murthrin got enough to cover that?
Yeah, you've got enough.
Yep, he just signs it off, boop, boop, slides it over.
Excellent. I'll have it delivered to the Ophion before you leave.
Oh, we are in docking pylon 3, though. Would you like transporters to handle it?
Nah, I'll just get one of my bartenders to do it. It's what I pay them for.
Fair enough.
So yeah, he gets you your round of drinks, and you're free to walk back over to your own table.
Andorian ale for everyone.
And I believe that's the green drink. Yeah, I think that's the green drink.
I think.
Isn't it blue? Or is that...
That's Romulan ale. Andorian ale.
Yes,
Let's
as
see
we all consult memory alpha here.
Yeah, it's the sort of bluish green color.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was closer to blue because isn't What's the Cardassian
Kanar?
Kanar.
Kanar is blue, isn't it?
Black.
Or it's black?
It's
Yeah.
like brownish black, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
Romulan ale is bright blue. Andorian ale is
Tealish.
similar sort of blue, but slightly greener.
I'm
It's-
thinking of every time what's his face drank Kanar, it was always in a green glass.
That could be it.
That's probably what I'm thinking. Damar. Whenever
Yeah.
Damar drank it, he always had it in a green, like, square glass. Useless information.
Kinnick will pick up one of the ales.
Yeah, no.
And
From the looks of it, Kanar's very dark liquid.
even though he doesn't usually imbibe, he will hold it out and toast with the other two and say, "Gentlemen, to our future missions and endeavors."
And
To our
I'll
future missions and endeavors.
to our future missions.
All right. So you all kind of clink glasses, and when you take your first sip, it's strong, stronger than you might have initially expected. I mean, you're not in any danger of becoming drunk off of this small amount, but depending on your constitution, this might be a little bit of a shock for you.
Ooh,
Mm,
strong stuff.
very. And immediately Beckett's head starts turning about, all right, so how can I make this?
All right, I'm going to cut to the other characters, and then we'll come back to you guys. So let's do Lindholm, since we want to make sure Lindholm's still here and awake.
I'm awake, barely, kind of.
Is there anything Lindholm wanted to do during her layover here?
I'd say like the only like really important thing of note would be kind of just double checking all the weapon systems, making sure everything's good. Doing as much as she possibly can besides going out and firing that shit.
Okay.
As much as she wants to, but just kind of checking to make sure, double checking, triple checking, etc. Just really just not wanting a situation where if shit hits the fan, something doesn't go right.
I gotcha. Why don't we have you roll an insight plus security at a difficulty of 1?
Okay.
Okay. So you succeed,
Of course.
but I'm gonna say instead of the complication, I'm gonna take the threat here. So
Okay.
no complication. So in your
The ship blows up.
yeah, the ship
All
blows
right.
up. DS9 goes with it. The end.
Hope new characters, guys.
Yeah. In your, I guess we'll call it zeal, as you triple check all of the weapon systems, you actually discover that one of the port phaser arrays on the secondary hull, so the second part of the ship when it separates into 3, is currently not getting the correct amount of power from the EPS conduits.
Do I believe it's related to the problem we've been having earlier?
That is entirely up to you. But I would say that it is in a different part of the ship than the EPS conduits that had to be replaced.
Okay. I would definitely let Lieutenant Commander Murthrin kind of know what exactly is going on.
Okay.
See if he would have any insight to the situation.
Okay. So we'll say, since Murthrin's currently on station, we'll say that your inquiry goes to our lovely Tellarite supporting character, Chief Prag. And Prag, as soon as you tell him this, just kind of curses and says, yeah, we're never going to get to the captain's ready room at this point. Is it just the one phaser array, or is it multiple?
It's the only one that I noticed an issue with, so hopefully it's just the one, but who knows?
I'll get a team on it right away. And thanks for bringing this to my attention.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. Anything else?
Sleep. Gonna try and. Oh wait, this was in character. Okay.
Yeah.
Still sleep.
Still sleep.
Okay.
Probably just relaxing. Having a gut feeling that probably not gonna get some sleep for a while.
Okay. In that case, we'll cut to the lovely Captain. Captain, what are you up to?
I'm going to send a message to Esri Dax, just saying I'm a fellow joined Trill, and I think our paths crossed at one point in our past hosts' lives, and I'm interested in swapping stories.
Okay. There's probably a good 15 minutes as you do other things, but then you get a reply that says, yeah, she'll meet you at the Replimat.
Works for me.
So yeah, you leave the ship in the capable hands of whoever happens to be the ranking officer on duty at the time.
I think is Lindholm.
We'll say Lindholm's actually got a chance to go get some sleep, so it'll be some red shirt that has been unnamed as of yet.
Ate a shift.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Random.
What was that? I heard Lindholm.
You're asleep. Don't worry about it.
Okay, good.
But yeah, you head to the Replimat, and sure enough, Esri Dax is kind of there waiting for you. And as you come into view, she kind of stands, smiles, and waves, and says, "Ah, yes, hello, come sit. I'm interested to hear what might have happened since we last met. It's been, I think it's been what, no, it must be like 60 years at this point."
I would say roughly that. My Tezzy skull seems to recall a rather boisterous Curzon Dax in the front row of one of her performances.
Oh yeah, that's Curzon. I don't think he. Well, I think you know at this point, but I think he kind of fancied her.
It would not surprise me. But at the same time, I seem to recall his attentions being distracted by a couple Andorian diplomats.
Well,
I don't think opera was ever his thing.
No. He was definitely there just to schmooze and look good. If it were up to him, he'd be in some bar somewhere. But you didn't hear that from me.
No first-hand experience?
She just kind of winks.
Yeah, I'm just going to small talk about Trill stuff. Nothing major or plot related. Just seeing how things are like back on Trill. It's been a catch up with her. Get to learn a bit about Jadzia and Esri. Talk about previous lifestyle. Nothing too important. I just wanted to swap stories.
All right. So it's at this point we'll switch back to the three at Quark's. Yeah, take it away, guys.
So what song have we ended up starting to sing?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Probably, yeah. Let's see, Vulcans don't really have drinking songs, so... Beckett, what song would you have tried to get us to sing?
I'm still in a good mood, so we haven't started doing things like Green Fields of France, but we just any random drinking song or Academy song, especially because this Andorian ale is probably at this point kicking Beckett and Mertherin's ass.
It's still very much sober.
Well, of course he is, because Vulcan. So yeah, we're pretty much to our present company kind of making fools of ourselves for singing.
Okay. So it gets to the point where eventually one of the waiters kind of comes over and says, sorry, sirs, but you're going to have to keep it down. We're trying to play some Dabo here.
No, of course, good madams.
Yep. Nope. That's completely our fault. Sorry. We will keep it down. Yeah, we'll keep it down.
Though I do not wish to abate your enthusiasm, I would, however, remind you that as we are representatives of the USS Ophion while we are here.
Yep. Right you are. Oh, right you are, Lieutenant Commander. Right you are.
Like rubbing the bridge of his nose, Beckett goes, "Of course, Vulcan, spoil sport, party pooper."
Oh,
Okay.
trust me. He's having fun in his own way.
Raises an eye at this. Party pooper?
Yeah. Remind me tomorrow and I'll explain it to you. I think it's a good point now that I head back to the ship and immediately sober myself up. And Beckett will stand up, though awkwardly, and start.
And then remember that Andorian ale doesn't have synthol.
Yeah, and then slowly start heading out. And now I'm going to be the party pooper because I'm going back to the ship.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess the main question I have here is how long or what other hijinks do Panek and Murthrin, and really anyone who's not back on the ship at this point, is there anything else anyone wanted to do in character?
Can't think of anything off the top of my head.
I don't think hijinks are in Pinek's nature.
Mhm.
But he would like, at the next convenient opportunity, look up information on the Senpera sector and the Dempa sector.
The Dopa sector, but okay.
Just so that he gets all the relevant information of the sector, what planets are there, and if possible, any fleet movements of the two sides as they bounce along across their neutral zone border.
Okay. I'll actually include. I'll combine two handouts here for this to make things easy. But yeah, you'll get that information here in a little bit.
Already.
But yeah, last kind of call. But if nobody has anything else, we'll say that your 2-day layover passes very pleasantly. You all were fruitful in your endeavors, whatever those endeavors might have been. And as you all now kind of report for duty, very much sober and prepared for duty shifts, you find yourselves waiting for clearance to detach from DS9. And sure enough, after about 5 minutes after your request goes in, the captain of the station, Kira, once again comes up on the main view screen. And she says, Captain Skull, I now have the honor of giving the USS Ophion her official orders. You
Wonderful.
should be receiving them now, actually. And Panek, since you are at the comm station, you would receive the following orders, which I will make visible for everyone. This handout serves two purposes. First, it shows a crudely drawn map of my own design of where the Romulan, Klingon, and quote-unquote demilitarized / neutral zone is. It also shows the proximity to DS9, to Cardassian space, things of that nature. It also contains the three main directives for the USS Ophion in its operations from this point forward.
Is there a way to zoom this?
If you click the image, it should expand to its full size.
It's still rather small.
It is actually already at full size, more or less. So
That's odd. I'll see about making it a bigger one during maybe during break.
If you put it onto like an actual Roll20 page instead of as a handout, you should actually get closer onto it. The when you put it as a
there we go.
handout, it shrinks it a bunch.
Yeah, opening it out into its own window blows it up a bit better.
Okay. So the three main directives, I'm going to leave it up to Panek if he wishes to communicate them, verbally now, or if he wants to, let the captain have that honor, or whatever you guys want at this point.
Captain, I have received a transmission of our orders.
Wow, what do the orders say? Number one.
The USS Ophion is to serve as the lead vessel in exploring the Sabine Expanse. Our secondary mission is to provide as Starfleet presence as required in the demilitarized zone between the Sempera and Dopa sectors. We are also up to uphold Federation values as well as Starfleet general orders and directives.
So part exploration, part peacekeeping.
It would seem so.
That works for me. Thank you, Captain Kira.
Hi. And though the war's over, I think it might be prudent for me to say good hunting out there.
Thank you. I appreciate the sentiment. And keep the home fires burning. We'll be back at some point, I'm sure.
Excellent. Well, you are cleared to disengage your locks and proceed onwards. And sure enough, no sooner does the view screen cut off that you again hear the disengaging sound as the Ophion and the Pylon stop becoming as one, and Lieutenant Sona begins to navigate the Ophion away from the station. And it is at this point that Panek, as you're looking over the information that has been given to you, you realize that, and I apologize if I said this already, but you realize that the demilitarized zone between the Romulan and Klingon space in this area of space is part of a safety corridor that extends from DS9 through Cardassian space through this demilitarized zone, and it dumps you out into the Sabine Expanse. It is very heavily advised by Starfleet that you use this corridor for travel, and that due to tensions in the area, if you are to deviate from this corridor, it should probably be with good reason.
Captain, overviewing the current map of the sectors, I would suggest we use the safety corridor in the neutral zone between the Sempera, and Dopa sectors as we travel to the Sabine Expanse.
That seems prudent. Sona, please prepare a course following that safety corridor.
Aye, sir. What warp factor?
Let's not cause any headaches down in engineering. Let's make it warp 7.
So, out of character. While I don't have a problem with warp 7, I'm not 100% sure whether or not the whole don't go above warp 5 thing has been redacted yet.
Oh, right.
I think it has, like my understanding was that basically from that point onward, they actually started taking that into consideration with their designs.
You know,
go ahead.
That was the whole thing behind the variable geometry pylons on the Intrepid class.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll say then, just sort of as a rule of thumb then, that this game is not going to be restricted by warp factor. My Sunday game very much is.
Oh boy.
So yeah, warp 7. Sona says, "Aye, sir, warp 7," and skillfully, once again, puts the Ophion in warp along the safety corridor. So, there's, again, a space of time here for you guys to more or less do as you wish. If you don't really have anything in mind, I might have a few ideas for at least some of you.
Finneck is going to monitor communications throughout the corridor,
Okay.
kind of get a feel for the current mood of this clashing border.
Okay. Roll me a. We'll call it an insight plus command, and we'll say the ship can assist with its sensors plus command as well. And
I'm
we'll
going to
say-
roll the same because I would be pretty much doing the exact same thing.
You said sensor command from the ship?
Yes.
Okay.
Someone else want to roll for the ship?
I'm doing it right now.
All right. Probably switch
Okay.
over to Finneck as my name as well.
Yeah. I'll say, since the difficulty here was 3, you pass, no problem. So.
Go
ahead.
Just so, what's our current momentum at?
Since it is an entirely new adventure, you're still at 0.
All right.
With this successful task, you are able to determine that the Romulans have recently been in a skirmish with a Klingon Vorcha class cruiser that's for some reason strayed onto their side of the border. In trying to decipher the kind of to comb through the smoke and try to find the truth kind of a thing, you discover that there's some sort of dispute in a particular area of the corridor about whether a certain nebula might be belonging to either the Klingons or the Romulans. You can certainly go around it, but the most direct course to the Sabine Expanse would require you to proceed through the nebula.
I will inform the captain of my findings and see what he has to say about this conflict that's happening.
Well, that is one of our directives, is to provide security along the tunnel. And if there appears to be a potential security breach along said tunnel, it would at least make sense for us to wave the flag in that general area. So I'll addend the orders and we'll amend the orders. And we'll head to the nebula, but we'll stop before entering it and just fly the colors a bit and see what happens.
Okay.
It would seem that being a third neutral party in this conflict would maybe quell some of the aggressiveness over this nebula.
That's possible. However, both the Klingons and the Romulans often don't see reason the same way that we might. They may view it as the Federation being a third party with our own interests in this area. Diplomacy is probably going to come into play before this trip is out.
All right. So obviously it's gonna, even at warp 7, it's gonna take at least a few hours to get to where you need to go. If not a few days. I'll try to do a quick calculation here on the side. But is there again, I did want to give you guys an opportunity if you had any further bits of RP or activities you wanted to do, or if I should skip ahead.
I'd say skip ahead.
Yep. Captain's just going to head down to the dock for the first time. We'll
Okay.
just wander in and notice the new sign and wonder, who painted that?
Yes, I'll say for sake of argument and flavor here, that some crewmen, some unnamed crewmen, has in fact painted a very masterful looking, like Irish pub style sign that is now hanging above the door of the duck. But yeah, let's skip ahead a little bit. So you get through Cardassian space without so much as seeing a Galler class or really any Cardassian ships. Even to this day, the Cardassian fleet is still rebuilding. They got hit really hard during the Dominion War. So obviously you don't see much of them. But as you get to the neutral zone type area between the Simperia and the Dopa sectors, you start to run into some more traffic here. First of which happens to be a passing Klingon bird of prey. Again, Pinek, since you are at the comm station, you will get a text-only request asking if you have any blood wine or fresh gah.
Can I determine who has sent this? I mean,
you would know it's coming from this bird of prey, but it doesn't specifically list a name or anything like that.
That's a shame. They usually have like a battle record or something you can look up. I will inform the captain. Captain, we are receiving a subspace transmission, text only, from a localized bird of prey.
Oh,
They
and
are requesting provisions.
provisions. I'm not aware of any Klingon provisions on board. Are you, XO?
It is my understanding that Commander Mithrin purchased. He happened upon some blood wine and gawk aboard Deep Space Nine.
Huh. I always thought that he would prefer Vulcan food, given his upbringing. I wonder if he would be willing to sacrifice it for the need of diplomatic relations.
Shall I call him?
Yes, please. If he's willing to part with it, feel free to give it to the Klingons.
Right,
If he's not, just reply in the negative and we'll move on with life.
Slap my comm badge. Lieutenant Pinek to Lieutenant Mithrin.
Bertrand here.
Is my understanding that you happened upon some Klingon provisions back at station?
Oh yes, I thought I might have some and have some for the crew. People who like their blood wine and tend not to like the replicated stuff.
We have been contacted by a bird of prey within the vicinity, and they are requesting some fresh provisions of Klingon blood wine and gawk. Would you be willing to part with some in the hopes of establishing a rapport with them?
Ostensibly no, but kind of curious that they just asked that unprompted.
Well, Klingons tend not to stand on ceremony.
Fair enough. I'll take out some of the stores and split it off into its own thing and send over a package.
Thank you.
And
I'm sure the Klingons will be most gratified by your assistance.
Mm-hmm. And he goes to do that, but as he does, I think Mithrin's actually going to see if he can get, if there's a biochemist or something on staff to come down and take a look at this, because now he's a little suspicious.
All right, now that the jet's not buzzing my house, I would say when you go to do your own inspection, the Klingon bird of prey in particular is known as the Chun-Su. And when you go to pull up the service record that Starfleet has on hand, you come up with the fact that the Chun-Su has been in this area of space for almost 3 years now. They have been one of the main sort of scout / waving the flag ships along this corridor. You don't really detect anything fishy, but that might mean something different to you, kind of a thing.
3 years would be a long time to go without fresh cock. I can see why they would ask.
Fair enough. All right. Well, he'll probably split out at about 2/3 of the crate that he has.
Okay. You split it off, and there is a bit of a back and forth between you and this unnamed officer on the Chunsu. And sure enough, when you transfer it back over, the captain of the ship, a one Gore, Goar, would like to extend his personal thanks for bolstering the morale of his crew. But again, this is all over text-based communication. So,
In return for our hospitality and good nature, I would like to kind of diplomatically kind of imply that in return we would like some more information about the current going on the Klingon side of the neutral zone and kind of what their interactions with the Romulans have been.
okay. He doesn't go into a whole lot of detail that you haven't already picked up. And most of what he tells you is flavored by him being Klingon. So, of course, it's always the Romulans who are at fault, and it is always the Romulans who are trying to cheat the Klingons out of something, kind of a thing. The one bit of information that will add to your current picture of the situation here is that the Klingons patrolling the border have been picking up some increased neutrino emissions coming from the edge of the Romulan space. And that you personally would guess that this might be because there's an increase of cloaked ships, kind of a thing. But again, without taking your own sensor readings or without encountering the Romulans yourself, you really don't know.
All right, file that away for a future note.
Okay. So, with one friend made so far, you guys continue along your way. And I would say about 3/4 of the way there to this nebula where you'll do some flag waving. A Romulan warbird very casually decloaks relatively nearby the Ophion, but still on the Romulan side of the demilitarized zone. It does not answer any hails. It does not try to communicate with you. It just very pointedly moves with the Ophion in a show of not exactly strength, but to say, hey, we're here and we know you're here, kind of a thing.
Yeah, like the Starship equivalent of the "I'm watching you" finger eye gesture.
Exactly.
I'm sure if there's one visible, there's going to be multiple that we can't see that are also doing the same.
That would be Romulan tactics. Pay attention to the dagger in hand and miss the one behind the back.
Well, if you'd like Senior Chief Thin to roll for it, we certainly can, but up to you guys.
Yep, so let's see if there's any other neutrino emissions or any other signs of cloaked vessels out there.
Sure. So let's do a insight plus science, or let's do control plus science or insight plus science. Difficulty 2, and the ship can assist with sensors plus science.
I'll do the ship.
Okay, so one success from the ship.
I can do the chief.
Okay.
That was insight?
Either insight or control plus science.
Science. And he has sensor operations, so he has a focus.
All right, so you get a momentum. First momentum of the session. Senior Chief Thin does in fact pick up a multitude of neutrino emission emissions coming from the border. His best guess, and he reports this to you. He says, "Sir, if I were a betting man, and I'm usually not wrong about these things, I'm guessing that there's probably at least 4 or 5 other warbirds out there."
Noted. Thanks, Chief.
Of course, sir. And he returns to his station. So yeah, you guys continue onwards, and eventually you do reach this nebula. And as Sona brings you out of warp, kind of on the edge of it, you see that it is green in color, a vibrant green, and curiously enough, you do pick up some signs of battle. More specifically, sorry, another jet. More specifically, you are picking up what seems to be the remnants of a small scout ship. The metallurgical analysis suggests that it might belong to a Romulan.
Interesting. Any idea how long ago that ship was destroyed?
Thin kind of taps at his op station. He says, "My best guess, sir, is maybe about a week ago."
Shall we scan for escape pods, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll let you guys roll for it because you guys could use the momentum. We'll say that this will again be a control plus science at a difficulty 0, but the ship cannot assist.
Alrighty. So who operates sensors? I forget.
That would still be Senior Chief then.
There we go.
While they're doing sensors, I'd like to monitor comm traffic around the nebula.
Okay. We'll get to that in a moment.
Hang on, no, that's just rolling straight. That's the ship rolling sensors, right?
No, the ship is not rolling. It is just going to be Senior Chief Thin that is rolling.
All right. Control plus science.
And the difficulty is 0. It's basically meant to be a momentum generator for you guys so that you have some.
Hang on, let me actually hit the right thing. Control plus science. Applicable focus, yeah, sensor operations.
Yeah, he would apply here.
2 successes.
So yeah, you guys get 2 momentum. And what he reports back is he says, "Sir, I'm not picking up any life pods in the area, but I am detecting some impulse trails which would seem to indicate that whoever might have been aboard this shuttle may have escaped and have been picked up by their fellows."
All right, very well.
And then Panek, your comm traffic. You're going to pick up the fact that almost within 10 minutes of the Ophion arriving at the nebula, both the Romulan and the Klingon sides have almost completely opened up communications. Most of it's encrypted, but you basically get the sense that they're probably talking about you, since you are probably the biggest and the baddest ship in the area.
Captain, our presence seems to have caused quite a stir.
I expected it would. Let's see what happens if we decide to begin our job as exploration.
Oh yeah, that's right, because the Prometheus are just coming off the assembly line, so this is probably the first one they've seen.
Well,
Miss Crean.
most Romulans.
Well, yeah, there were those few, but they're not Miss Crean, could you please launch a probe into the nebula? Let's see what sort of material is in there.
Of course, sir. Krine, or Crean, or however we'll butcher her name today, she will launch a probe into the nebula. And since you have 3 momentum, I'm just going to give this to you guys at this point. She detects that the nebula itself seems to have almost like a beneficial regeneration effect towards shielding. And at the same time, it slightly enhances sensor functionality. She's getting an extremely clear reading from the probe. And she reports...
That enhances sensors? That's like...
That's a rarity, all right.
Yeah.
That's like the complete opposite of all other known nebulas.
Yeah. Now, this sounds like something worth investigating.
Right. And in fact, she's going to turn completely in her chair and report, sirs, this, if you were not aware, normally a nebula is a dampener on sensor readings. The fact that this one might be enhancing even to a small degree, this is a very big deal and would explain why both the Romulans and the Klingons wish to have control over this.
Agreed. It would be the perfect place for either side to station a covert listening post.
Have you been able to determine...
Is it for sure natural?
Krine looks back at her station for a moment and says, yes, I do believe it is a natural formation.
Are you able to determine the particulate that makes up the nebula?
One moment. And she comes back and she gives you an appropriate technobabble for the nebula. The gist of it is that it is a certain type of, we'll say gamma particles, because that's what came to mind. That these gamma particles are responsible for, to kind of flavor it without, ruining the mystery. It's similar to how in Star Trek Online some of the ships use a chronoton integrator with their sensors so that they can use things like the slip space or the the high warp technologies that require you to see a little bit into the future. That same kind of thing's going on here, but definitely not to a degree that you're suddenly picking up, say, transmissions from the future. It just has it's almost like a beneficial radiation effect, if that makes any sense.
Definitely sounds like something that's worth doing some surveying of. I mean, especially if there was some way to replicate this effect on a small scale.
Agreed. Would it be safe to transport a section of the nebula into one of our science labs for further analysis?
I could transport a sample into a containment bay, yes.
Very well. Let's see what happens.
Alrighty. So Mirthrin will organize, particle lab to study the nebula.
Okay. Probably astrometrics.
Yeah, astrometrics sounds good.
There was no sign of any structures or ships within the nebula?
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, there were no signs of either previously existing or currently existing structures.
Cool. Well, I see no reason to go anywhere else while we continue this investigation. Let's put us into some stations keeping Miss Sona as we let our science teams do their work.
All right.
Meanwhile, keep if any Klingon or Romulan vessel so much as comes a micron over their respective borderlines, I'd like to know about it.
Yes, sir. And kind of in a montage fashion here. The transport of a sample of the nebula goes well. You are able to take pretty much as the nebula as you want for experimentation, for sensor readings, whatever you'd like to do with the samples. In your efforts to understand more of the nature of this nebula, you come across the fact that this is, even though it's a natural formation, as Lieutenant Crine reported, it's still rather new in a cosmic sense. I would say maybe within the last, we'll say 2,000 years, this nebula has formed.
That is a newborn nebula.
Mm-hmm.
While this is happening, Pinnock crafts and transmit a preliminary report on their findings to Starfleet Command.
Okay.
Alrighty. Yeah. I think at this point Mertherin's just running through ideas for experiments to run on the nebula to see how it interacts. If it boosts sensors, he's like wondering if there's some sort of sensor equivalent of a diffraction pattern you could scatter off it to see what happens, that sort of thing.
Okay. So we'll say what you probably would end up doing is you take like a tricorder and you would stand some distance away from the sample container, and then you would get another tricorder from, probably Prague would hold another tricorder, and you would play the game of how far away can we go before we can't detect each other anymore, kind of a thing. And what happens is you're able to get a reading from Prague's tricorder all the way from main engineering all the way up to the duck lounge, or the duck.
Just if we're bouncing it off this...
if you bounce it off this nebula fragment. So it's a fairly significant increase in sensor range.
That's like a gaseous Fresnel lens.
If it was possible to take a snapshot of the nebula, and then accounting for astral drift, to kind of create a reverse, like a rewind to see what kind of star would have produced such a nebula, like if it was a particular type of star, since this is an anomaly that this nebula was so recent.
Okay. And I might be getting this wrong because it's been a while, but Crine will report, or one of the crewmen from astrophysics or astrometrics will report, that they think that this nebula might have formed from a brown dwarf, or at least something like a brown dwarf.
Actually, So, it boosts sensors. Would it also boost communications?
Certainly worth a try.
Are we out of range of Ophion's usual communications range with DS9?
No. You would have to go really far into the expanse before you started to run into that kind of issue.
All right. Where's somewhere that wouldn't be crazy for us to contact, but which is outside of our communication range?
I'm sure Starfleet Command is quite a ways away.
Or does the subspace network sort of not work like that?
I think Skull had a good point that you could try to reach Starfleet Command from out here. Usually there's a bit of a lag, best I understand, between the 2 points, but you're starting to...
That would be an interesting point of comparison, like see how the lag / interference gets affected.
Yeah, it's certainly worth a try.
Well, let's see. Who's someone we can contact in Starfleet Command who wouldn't mind being called up out of the blue?
Reginald Barclay.
And
You're not wrong.
It kind of factors in because at this point, previously he was trying to establish long-range communication with Voyager anyway.
Actually, yeah, he is stationed around Earth at the moment, I believe.
Actually, he's at some sort of a satellite array.
Oh God, Lindholm, your mic is killing us. All right, I gotta mute you, Lindholm. Sorry. All right. Hopefully that just muted him locally. Anyway, you were saying Panek.
Oh, just talking about Barclay. So nothing
Okay.
important.
All right, I'll unmute him now. Let's see if it's fixed.
Better now?
Yes, much better.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. I don't know what the fuck it was.
Yeah, it was like something being dragged over the mic. But as long as it doesn't happen again, we're fine. Anyway, so yeah, I guess Barclay would be a person of interest you might want to contact at Starfleet Operations.
I mean, I meant it as a joke, but you guys bring up really good points. That if we do communicate with him, then maybe it gives him the idea of how to communicate with Voyager. Just saying.
I am okay with accidentally being part of that canon. So
Works for me.
all right, so which one of us happens to know Barclay for some reason?
The chief hollow specialist might.
That's a good point, actually. So yeah, I'll work out exactly where Merthren ran into Barclay later. I mean, maybe they were at the academy or something. But he goes, let's see, ways to test this out. I have an idea. Captain, permission to attempt to send a communique to someone on Earth.
That's a little ambitious, don't you agree?
It is, but if it works, it would give us a very good idea of Nebula's capabilities.
That is true. Make it happen.
All right, so he's going to send off a communique and just bounce it off the Nebula to get to Earth, saying, "Hello, this is Lieutenant Commander Sarvek Merthrin. If you get this message, please respond."
Okay, so it's actually fairly instantaneous. You actually get Reginald Barclay in the flesh to reply, and he says, hello, Lieutenant Commander Merthrin. Pleasure to meet you, I think. Have we met before?
Once or twice. Did you... I served on the Odette for a while. We ran into each other once or twice back at Starfleet Academy, I believe.
I see. And what is it I can do for you?
Well, believe it or not, you're doing it at the moment. We found an interesting little stellar phenomenon, and I was testing out a theory, and the theory is working. So I'm not sure if your systems are picking it up, but do you have any idea where this message is coming from?
He kind of fumbles with something out of view of the vid screen that you're communicating with him on, and he says, "Oh, you're all the way out there. Huh. I would have expected more lag on the communication."
Me too. We found this rather fascinating nebula, which seems to have the effect of reinforcing sensor signals.
He raises an eyebrow and says, "A nebula?"
Yes, we're running scans on it at the moment.
I'm assuming this nebula is near your current position?
Indeed, it's in the demilitarized corridor in between the Klingon and Romulan sectors of Cardassian space.
Huh. Well, if you weren't going to already, I'd like to take this to the commanding officer here on McKinley Station.
Oh, feel free to. You'll no doubt get the full details once we send the report into Starfleet.
I'll look forward to reading it.
Yeah, so looking to be quite a good start to our mission.
He does that Barclay thing where he just kind of goes, yeah, and he nods.
Good to talk to you, Barclay. See you around.
Yeah, you too. And, communication goes
Yeah.
dark. And
Yeah.
Prague, without missing a beat.
After a bit of awkward going back and forth, of
Yeah.
course.
So Prague, without missing a beat, just kind of deadpan Tellarite kind of says, well, he's fun to talk to.
He's a lot better to talk to over subspace, I will admit. In person, he tends to be a little stress-inducing.
Yep, I can totally see that.
Yeah. His heart's in the right place, though.
He just shrugs. But yeah, my main operative question here is how or when do you report this to Starfleet, if at all?
Well, I already sent off a preliminary report earlier, remember?
Yeah,
But
I'm
that
just
was
making
just
sure,
when we-
though.
Yeah.
Is it just
I
going
think
to
it's
be...
just a case
Oh, go ahead.
of, I'm assuming it's just going to be a case of we do a full survey, get as much information as we can with what we have, and then just send the report off to Starfleet from there.
I'm sure they'll send a science ship, someone else more specialized
Yeah.
to.
I mean, we're there to... Well, what's the Expanse called again?
Sabine.
Yeah. I mean, we're off to explore the Sabine Expanse rather than this, but, this is an interesting find along the way that someone will want to see.
Right, and that's you guys answered my questions where, like how long were you going to linger? Were you going to kind of wait?
Yeah.
So between Pinex's preliminary and whatever additional report you may send.
Yeah. I'm imagining we don't spend much more than half a day on it.
Okay. Well, I mean, unless Captain Skull really wants to...
Does that sound right, or would we stay longer?
I have a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
Is that since the Romulans and the Klingons, seem to be pointing swords at one another, waiting for something to happen about this nebula, I nominate that we drop a Federation comm buoy dead center of this nebula.
Wow, that's
Um,
quite assertive.
I mean, ostensibly, I don't have a problem with it. This corridor isn't Federation space, right?
No, it's
neutral.
It technically
not.
belongs to no one.
Okay. So, I mean, as long as we don't make make too much effort to hide it or
No.
make it so that try and make it hard to destroy. If we just drop yeah, we're interested in this, we're just putting that there so that people know where it is.
No, certainly not. Yeah, we are on our way into the uncharted fringes beyond, and we could use a lifeline back home. If we make this Federation buoy available for any race to send.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. A non-encrypted, just
Precisely.
generic convoy.
Precisely.
But also still, the proverbial "we licked it first, it's ours."
At least until a science team or a diplomatic team or someone else can come out here and...
I mean, if we're being honest, the Romulans and the Klingons have probably been licking it for the last month or so.
Now that's
Absolutely.
just gross.
And they at least the Romulans have lost a ship here in conflict over it.
So maybe if we drop the boy just outside the nebula.
Yeah.
If it's going to be an open use nebula, I suggest that we also refrain from using it for any encrypted communications to Starfleet or Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. Plain text or plain communications only through it.
Yeah, anything we don't mind them seeing.
I'm in agreement.
Yeah. And just have it there to take advantage of the sensor boosting that the nebula provides.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And at the same time, broadcast these intentions both to Klingons and Romulans, how we are making use or providing, how we are enabling all sides to use this nebula's...
to use the convoy.
Yeah, use the convoy.
As a gesture of good faith.
Precisely.
Okay. So probably predictably, neither side kind of says, okay, thanks, or really comments on it at all. But you do at least, or at least Senior Chief Thin will notice that the neutrino emissions on the border of the Romulan side have started to lessen, almost as if the ships are departing to other places, kind of a thing.
Probably the Romulans seeing, oh, they're just here to do their normal Federation exploration bullcrap. They're not here to cause trouble.
That's the hope. That's the hope.
All right. What'll happen is about the time you start to get the idea that you should move on, you get a communication from your good pal Admiral Thesso, and it's text only again, but it basically says that a science vessel will be dispatched to study the nebula in more detail, but you are clear to leave the area at your discretion.
And off we go.
Leave it to Starfleet to tell us what to do, as we're already doing it.
Exactly. You got to have a little bit of the bureaucracy in there. The rest of your trip through the demilitarized zone / safety corridor is, I would say, almost unnaturally without any issue. Systems are fine. You're not detecting people following you. The holodeck emitters don't explode or the safeties don't get turned off. It's rather normal. And eventually you guys arrive on the edge of the sector or the area of space in the Alpha Quadrant known as the Sabine Expanse. And you begin your, kind of pathfinding / reconnaissance style directive. And
Plot a course. Second star to the right.
pretty much. And I'll say that there's going to be probably about a 3-day time skip here. So again, if anyone wants to do anything, speak now or forever hold your peace.
I'd imagine we're just all settling into the routine.
Yeah, I got nothing planned.
You know, all those weeks that we don't see on the show where absolutely nothing goes.
Pretty much, yeah. I am gonna. This is where we're gonna take our break. So we will take a break here. Before you run off, though, this will be a new scene, so lose one momentum. But let's take a 5-minute break here. So be back at 5:15.
All right, you're back.
Right, see you guys soon.
so before I unmute myself on Discord for the rest of the guys, I did want to thank those of you that might be watching this in the future. Again, I will apologize for any possible sound issues. As I said, I've got jets flying overhead. Hopefully, it's not too annoying. But I'm dealing with the circumstance best I can. It kind of happens when you live near a Navy base's runway. When they want to fly, you pretty much don't have an option. Anyway, again, thank you for watching, and I'm actually going to unmute myself for the rest of the guys. All right, and I'm back, guys. All right, so we've got Skull back.
And me.
Oh, Panex here. All right, so who's all back at this point?
Kettle's just taking a little while to boil.
All right. Okay. I think that's everyone.
I think Beckett might not be back.
Yeah, I don't know if Beckett's back yet. Well, whenever Beckett gets back, we will pick right back up. But yeah, hopefully you guys are having fun. It's always an interesting balance of figuring out RP with different groups. It'll be interesting to see whether or not we're going to have to do a two-parter here, or if you guys will be able to finish everything in time. So we'll see. It'll be interesting.
It's pretty funny, Barkley. What? Sorry.
No, I'm just saying I'm enjoying it.
I turned on Babylon 5 earlier, and it happened to be an episode with the guy who plays Barkley in it, and he plays this raving mad lunatic, and I'm like, it just all makes sense now.
It's almost like he's typecasted for that role. All right. Well, we'll give Beckett a few more minutes, and then we can start with Adam, since the initial part of what's about to happen isn't medical in nature.
Alrighty. And all set to go.
Good stuff.
Is that coming through?
I'm not hearing anything. Oh, nope, there's a bird.
That's why I'm not hearing anything.
Did you
There
have
we go.
yourself muted?
Right. Hello.
Hi.
I'm still seeing you talking, but I'm not getting any sound through. Hang on a second.
Uh-oh. All right, Beckett's here. All right, so
Try bouncing your headset off the nebula.
It worked.
Have you inverted polarity?
I mean, I'm already in New Zealand, so...
all right, so we're all back, and we'll pick right back up where we left. So it's been a few days since you guys have been doing what Starfleet originally set out to do, and you guys are very much acting as explorers. So far, you haven't really come across anything super interesting. It's mostly a matter of you're just trying to get through the already explored, or at least partially explored space, so you can get to the real interesting stuff. But probably around like day 2.5, Senior Chief Thin kind of tilts his head to the side and says, Sir, I'm getting an interesting distress signal.
Define interesting, please.
Well, it's suffering from extreme lag issues, as if it's been... Well... And he thinks about how to say this. I would say it's almost as if it was passed by like an extreme gravitational disturbance.
Can we put it on the screen or put it through the speakers?
I can certainly try, sir. And he pipes it to the bridge's speakers, and it's like listening to someone at 500 times slower speed. The only usable information is so Thin will kind of, as this droning, kind of almost moaning like sound echoes across the bridge, Thin will just kind of say, well, the bad news is, sir, obviously we can't really clear up the signal, but the good news is I was able to acquire a set of coordinates if we wish to investigate.
Well, if it is indeed a distress call, it's our duty to investigate. Please stop that noise and let's go.
Yes, sir. And almost immediately, the bridge falls silent once more. And Thin pipes the coordinates over to Sona, and Sona diverts the Ophion towards the coordinates in question.
What do we know about the area we're heading to?
So Lieutenant Karine reports, Sir, this is obviously a sector next to the Romulan Semperia sector. As far as the Starfleet records are concerned, there's been no sighting of any Romulan activity here. A previous quick scan of the sector revealed that there were mostly Class D and Class J planets, but that none of the systems were inhabited or contained anything really of note. I also would like to say, sir, that I'm not detecting any other vessels or structures or anything of that nature within several light years.
Then where the heck is it coming from?
There
Captain,
aren't any black holes in the area, are there?
Yes, Panek.
I would suggest we proceed with caution. If this distress signal is indeed coming from a severe gravitational distortion, there could be effects with time dilation that we need to monitor.
Oh, goody. Just when you thought we were all done with time stuff.
We're never done with time stuff.
Nope, it always comes back around. Very well.
You know what the worst part about being stuck in a time loop is?
What would that be?
You know what the worst part about being stuck in a time loop is?
Do I have to banish you back to engineering?
This is all happening.
Yes, it is.
Anyways, I guess my question is, how would you like to proceed at this point? Because unless you stop Sona, she's just going to take the Ophion straight to the coordinates.
Let's head to the edge of the system, and then we'll proceed slowly at half impulse.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, Murthrin's running sort of specifically looking for black holes or other singularity type anomalies.
Okay.
Pinnock will be monitoring the distress signal as we continue moving. Maybe find some way to adjust the waveform to actually speed it up to see if we can get something useful out of it.
Okay. Let's deal with Murthrin's scans first. Murthrin, I need you to roll me we'll call it a control plus science. No, let's make it an insight plus science.
Yep.
And we're going to do this at a
insight.
difficulty of 4. And the
Ooh.
ship can assist with its sensors plus science.
I can do the ship if no one else wants to.
Let's see. Would this be a task involving computer systems?
I mean, technically everything on the ship involves the computer systems. I'll allow it. Why not?
But like specifically enough that it would fall under the computer expertise talent.
I mean, I'll allow it. Why not?
Alrighty. So that's an extra D20 there.
And it looks like the ship did not help you, so you may want to spend some momentum.
Yeah, I think I will spend a momentum to get 4 dice.
Okay.
It's difficulty 4, right?
Correct.
Do we want to blow all the momentum on this, or should we save some for later?
Well, the next point or the next die would cost 2 momentum.
So, we're down to 2 momentum, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. And since you've just spent 1, you only have the 1.
3 dice it is. No, 4. Hang on. Wait. Yes, 4. Yep. Pretty sure I've got a focus that fits here. Particle physics?
Yeah, I'd say that would probably apply to an X-ray generating solar phenomenon like a black hole.
Let's see how we do. Oh,
Wow.
nice. 5 successes.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so you get the momentum back. So right as it's one of those things where it's this chain series of events that happen in very quick succession. As you get closer and closer toward the set of coordinates, Murthrin, there's this very sudden and almost like a burst of a gravitational well that is forming in the space in front of the ship. And right as Sona drops out of warp, and as you start to communicate this fact to the rest of the bridge crew, the entire ship rocks and sends most everyone reeling as the inertial dampeners strain to keep up. And you see Sona is frantically trying to get the ship back under control. And she kind of...
Captain, I'm getting a sudden gravitational... What?
Yeah, pretty much. And as, everyone gets their bearings once more, she says, sirs, I believe the saying is we've run aground. We're caught in an immense gravitational well. Source unknown.
Great. Okay. Full sensor scan of the area, please.
Okay. So this is probably, again, where, Murthrin, your previous check there comes in. It's almost like the cause of the black hole, or whatever this gravitational disturbance is, is disappearing and reappearing from sensors seemingly at random. The effects don't go away, but it's almost like a sensor ghost even.
Is it moving?
It is stationary.
I have a theory.
Let's hear it.
Romulan warbirds use artificial singularities to power their cores.
And you
I'm
think
wondering if perhaps a cloaked ship with a malfunction might cause this effect. Although, with the gravity this extreme, I'd be surprised that the ship hadn't torn itself apart.
Yes. Lieutenant Commander Panek, were you able to discern anything else from that distress message?
Was I? GM?
I'm going to say now that you are here, you basically get the message, and literally all it says is "help." That's it.
Can I determine if it's on a Romulan frequency or something?
It is indeed on a Romulan frequency.
Like somebody was right.
Okay. Any sign of a neutrino emission?
Lieutenant Karine reports, "Yes, sir. Actually, I'm getting. Well, this doesn't make any sense, sir. The sheer magnitude of these readings suggests that something the size of a starbase has been cloaked out there. But to the best of my knowledge, that would be totally unprecedented for the Romulan Star Empire."
Well, they do like to keep us on our toes.
Now, to be fair, we did just drop a comm buoy right outside their front door. So, okay.
There's no reliable way of disrupting a cloak even if you know exactly where the vessel is, right?
Go ahead.
Sorry, no, your GM.
No, I mean, you probably have a better idea than I do.
Well, on a number of occasions in the show, they do happen. It's they use some sort of pulse from the deflector to disrupt them. Usually, like something like a tetryon or something.
Tachyon, but yes.
Tachyon.
Well, maybe a low pulse, like a wide tachyon sweep in the direction of, figure out where the center of gravitation is, fire a tachyon pulse in that direction, and see if we manage to disrupt a cloak.
Agreed.
Lieutenant and Captain, I must I must say that even if we manage to disrupt the cloaked ship, it does not solve our issue of the singularity.
Agreed.
True,
Perhaps
but
one puzzle piece at a time.
worth noting though, are we stuck in the gravitational well, or is it just a case of we're struggling to maintain position?
Sona reports, well, I've tried both impulsed and thrusters, and we're not going anywhere.
Are we in any danger from the gravitational forces?
At the moment, sir, I don't believe so, but should it grow in intensity, there's really no telling what problems it may cause within the Ophion.
Duly noted. Let's keep minimal power to the engines and divert some extra power to maintain structural integrity.
Will do, sir.
In the meantime, please prepare the tachyon pulse, and let's see what's out there.
Okay. So for this, we're going to call it a daring plus engineering at a difficulty of 2.
Alrighty.
And I'll be nice and say that the ship can assist with a sensors plus con. Yeah, we'll call it con.
Alrighty. Now, I forget which one of us is in charge of sensors.
Technically, it's thin, but since you came up with the idea, you can roll it.
Cool. Daring plus
engineering.
Science? Engineering. Daring plus engineering. Particle physics, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see what we get with 2 dice.
All right, so you actually get a momentum.
Nice.
So almost kind of in a cascading fashion, the deflector begins emitting a directed or a wideband tachyon sweep of the area, and almost immediately this structure begins to materialize. And this installation is about the size of Starbase 1 back around Earth. It's got green coloration, an open bay design, and a raptor-like emblem on top. You don't need anyone to tell you you're looking at a Romulan station. And I actually have a handout for this. This is more or less what the starbase looks like.
Ooh.
Ominous.
That looks familiar.
Okay.
They do like their giant eagle statues.
Can we hail them?
You can certainly try.
Please hail them.
Hail them.
All right. You get no response.
Mm-hmm.
Are they actively refusing, or is there just no one listening?
I mean, how would you tell?
Yeah, I was going to say, how would
Good
you
question.
tell?
For life forms.
If you want to scan for life forms, I'll give this to you. So you scan for life forms, and you pick up about 20 or so life forms, but the moment you go to verify it, that number changes again. And it wildly fluctuates both up and down. So you're guessing that this station could, I mean, just based on its size alone, it could contain anywhere from a skeleton crew of 50 to a full complement of thousands. It's really hard to tell.
Mirthrin, Lindholm, analysis, please. Is the station at least appear to be functional? Or is there damage in any way, shape, or form?
I will let you know in a second after I roll insight.
Yeah, I would say that this would be an insight plus engineering at a difficulty of 2 for Mirthrin. And then for Lindholm, it would be an insight plus security at a difficulty 2.
Yep. No applicable focuses here, so let's just do the straight 2. Oh,
Okay.
again with the consistent rolling.
Yeah. Guys are rolling good today. Lindholm, just waiting on your roll.
Lindholm has passed out.
Rip.
He's muted.
And he is muted.
Yeah,
so,
he is muted.
Yeah.
So maybe he's talking and has no idea.
All right, let's move on. We'll say Mirthrin, you're detecting pretty much what you expected. That mostly, or most, if not all, Romulan structures, stations, ships, etc., all use a microsingularity. But what you're picking up is the fact that not only is the singularity much, much larger than any on record, but I mean, and this is almost like you calling back to your academy days, like these readings you're getting are all the telltale signs of a singularity that is the containment around it has failed, kind of a thing.
Oh dear.
Is there a way for us to like, if we could like we could bounce something off the hull to determine the age of the metal or whatever? It's just a theory I have, but with the fluctuations in the life sign readings and the fact that it seems to be pulsing, like it goes in and out of sensors.
Yeah, it goes. It's almost like watching a what's a good equivalent here? Like
A mirage?
yeah, it's almost like a mirage.
Pinnock hasn't voiced it yet, but he's speculating that maybe this outpost is going back and forwards in time somehow.
So
I mean,
Krine actually, well, you haven't voiced it yet, so Krine can't speak to it.
I mean, a black hole spiraling out of control. I mean, anything's possible.
I'm hesitant to send anyone over there. But at the same time, the only way to get us out of here is to fix whatever there's going on their side.
So,
And they have requested help, Captain.
They have indeed.
shall I organize an away team, sir?
I believe that would be prudent. Given the gravitational issues in the area, we might be stuck to transporters.
Krine turns in her seat and says, Captain, I would just like to remind you that with the interference from the gravitational well, transporting will be all but impossible without pattern enhancers. However,
noted.
I would like to say that I do not believe the draft of a shuttlecraft would be deep enough to get caught within the well.
It's a fair point, actually.
Yeah. Very well. Sona, take a shuttle. Murthrin, number 1. Go with her. Miss Lindholm, if you wish to join us, please. If you wish to join them, please do so.
She gives her a reply in some non-verbal fashion.
Yeah. So as I get everyone present on the map, so you guys are taking Sona.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking Murthrin.
Yep.
Okay. You are taking Pinnock.
Roger.
And then, are you taking Beckett along?
If that many of the senior staff is going, I can stay and fumble my way through bridge operations.
Well, it's one of those things where, kind of like the show where, to respond to a distress call, some someone from medical would go.
True.
It's just whether,
I'll go. I just didn't know if we wanted to send this many members of the senior staff. But, like on TV, that's usually who goes.
Yeah. You could always take a support character on your medical staff.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you wanted to, Vara could go.
No, I'll go.
Okay. And then Lindholm's kind of up in the air at the moment since we haven't heard from them in a while. Though if it turns out I have her muted, or have him muted, and he's saying something I'm not picking it up, please let me know. But yeah, we'll say for all intents and purposes, Lindholm will go with you, but she may not be an actor in the scene itself. Anyways, so the 5 of you all head down to the shuttle bay and clamber aboard a Type 11 shuttlecraft. And the craft is launched from the bay, and true to Krine's assumption or understanding of the situation, Lieutenant Sona is quite able to get the shuttle into one of the Starbase's docking bays. At about that same time as the shuttle begins to land and more or less form a seal with one of the docking hatches, Murthrin, since Prag is one of your characters, I need him to roll me a control plus engineering at a difficulty of 1.
Alrighty. Alright, control plus engineering. No applicable focus here.
Oh, wow. All right. So you guys will get 2 momentum from that. So again, pretty much as the shuttle is touching down, Prague in engineering begins to notice that the power drain of maintaining this structural integrity field is beginning to tax several interlinked systems. It's not really a problem at this point, but it is starting to become a slight matter of concern.
Yeah. We are on a timer.
Pretty much, yeah. And I will now push you guys onto this map. Oh, sorry. I know what I was going to mention. Captain, did you want to bring a supporting character, or would you like to be rolling for Sona?
I can do Sona.
Okay. And I'll say if you want, you can actually RP as her too. I don't mind it at all. That's kind of what supporting characters are for. I'll feed you any information that she would know.
Fair enough.
So the shuttle is expertly brought into the Romulan shuttle or docking bay, and it seems, luckily, that the facility still has power. You're able to all disembark and begin heading deeper into the starbase without any issue or resistance. The corridors are your typical Romulan fare. That is to say, they're all different hues of like browns, greens, and maybe some whites. The lighting overhead is sparse and flickering. The farther in that you get, the more signs of trouble you begin to come across. Such things as blown out conduits, scorch marks, dead Romulans, and so forth. It's not until you round a bend that you come in contact with a living soul. So, what you almost run into are a group of about 5 Romulans coming up the corridor towards you. One of them you all would recognize as being a Centurion, with the rest being low-ranking Ulhans. They're all battered and bruised, but they do appear to be armed and ready for battle.
Pinnock will
Right. Who's taking point here?
Pinnock will hold up his hand in the traditional Vulcan salute and say,
"Oh dear, this is going to go swimmingly."
I am Lieutenant Commander Pinnock of the USS Ophion. We were responding to your distress signal. Can we provide assistance?
The Centurion kind of holds up her hand to stop the progress of her group down the hallway. And she says, "Starfleet, here? We specifically sent that communication on a Romulan line."
We happened to be nearby and picked up your signal. It would also seem it's being degraded by the gravitational rift that has been caused. Our sensors determined that your singularity has lost containment. We are able to provide any assistance in rectifying that.
And how do I know you weren't responsible for this in the first place?
We had no idea that your outpost was even here. I guess you shall have to give us a measure of trust.
Us trust Starfleet. That'll be the day.
Yeah, Merthrin actually has to suppress a sort of a smirk at that.
And can I, like, on the DL, with a tricorder start scanning not only the ones that are in front of us, but also the ones that are dead nearby, about why they're dead, or any kind of conditions with the 5 that are still alive?
Sure. Roll me a insight plus medicine.
While he's doing that, and to kind of distract them from his actions, I want to keep engaging the Centurion, and I would say, in light of the fact that we are the only one to have responded to your distress signal, we seem to be your only hope.
The Centurion kind of mulls this over, and eventually she says, "And how do I know you're not just going to take all of our research the moment you save us, quote unquote?"
Xenobiology would be a good focus.
Yes, that'll work. Well, the good news is it was only a difficulty 1, so you're fine. So, Beckett, what you're picking up is that the Romulans that are dead all died because of the conduit exploding or because there was some sort of firefight here. You're picking up trace remnants or signs of disruptor fire. Almost like there were two warring factions on this station.
Okay. And do you want me to do another roll for the ones that are still living?
No, I'll let you have it. So physically they may look bad, but your reading suggests that they're more or less just putting on any airs of injury. They are more than capable of defending and or enforcing whatever sort of security arrangement that their centurion wishes from them.
Okay.
Centurion, if we were to sit here and assuage every thought of paranoia that you had, we would find ourselves without time to complete any necessary repairs.
I would say for that. Oh, go ahead.
And I think Murthrin will lean into frame at that point and go, and the core's containment is degrading. We kind of like to get it fixed before our ship gets pulled into the station.
So I'm going to say from Pinek, I'd like you to roll me a command plus presence at a difficulty of 3. Murthrin, you can assist with either a command plus presence of your own or a security plus presence. And since you are assisting, it is only a 1 die from you.
Let's go with command presence.
Would diplomacy be a good
good focus? Yeah.
Focus.
Only the 1 die. No focuses, because despite being a betazoid, he is not a diplomat.
Okay.
1 success.
So there is a possibility here for the Romulans to fail here. So let me roll that. Okay. So the Centurion, her hand kind of starts to drift towards her disruptor. And almost in a flash, Sona, you're going to realize that she will fire within the next few seconds.
I will. Commander, move! Or sorry, Commander, move! They're going to attack.
Oh, that's right. No emotion.
Yeah. All right.
I will
draw my
respond,
phaser.
I guess, that with by
I'm assuming I have a
shooting
phaser.
at them before they shoot me.
Okay.
It
So
seems logical.
the way combat works in this system, for those who are new, is we don't do traditional initiative like D&D or 40k might. Basically, the way it works is for the first round, it's your guys' turn first, then it's the Centurions, and then it's your turns again. And the way it works is it's pretty much whoever would either like to go or has been decided by the group should go. So to start things off, who among you would you like to go first from your side?
It's probably either Sona or Pineka, I'd think.
Yeah, one of those two would maybe be best.
I think Sona, given her enhanced reflexes, even though I'm a Vulcan, would probably shoot before I did, but I'd be
Agreed.
right behind her on the draw.
Okay. So a phaser fire is going to be for ranged attacks, all ranged attacks, that is control plus security at a difficulty of 2.
Control.
I noticed on the weapons tab on the sheet,
Mhm.
the little delta symbol is clickable. What does that do?
It should roll the challenge die you need for damage, but I'm not 100% sure because they've messed with the sheet a little bit in the past couple weeks.
Well, when I clicked it, I got input value, and then you select the type of attack, a melee or ranged.
Oh, I don't know what the first value is asking for, but it's worth trying.
There, I just did a test roll. It seemed to roll the whole macro.
Oh, really? Oh, so I don't have to do that at all. Cool.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what it rolled here.
It rolled a ranged attack, it looks like.
Yeah, that it did, but the damage doesn't seem right. Let me check the rollable table real fast. No, that is right.
All right.
So yeah, I guess you can click the little button there, and it'll run you through the entire thing.
Okay. I'm going to spend a point of momentum to get another dice.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, I don't think it's rolling the right challenge die though. So let's do that manually.
All right.
So what
That's-
what weapon is Sona using?
I think she has a Type 2 phaser, which, if I recall correctly, has a 3 dice.
It should, yes.
Okay.
At least that's what my GM's screen says, I think. Let me double check.
For her challenge dice, it should be 3 for the weapon plus her security, correct?
Yeah, you're right. And yes,
okay.
it is indeed a 3 for a phaser type 2.
So 5 dice total then. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So, this is something that I probably should have said before you did the roll. So, a phaser type 1 and a phaser type 2 both have the charge quality, meaning you can use a minor action before you attack to add a various rate or a various damage effect to your shot. Those are, I think, and I'm double checking here. Are they on the reference sheet? No, they are not. Nope, they are. If you have the STA reference PDF from the Google Drive, the damage effects are all on page 2, right hand upper right. Basically, you can either make the attack an area attack. You can make it so that the cost to avoid an injury is increased for each effect rolled. You can also make it ignore 2 resistance, which is basically armor for some NPCs. Or you can make it so that for every effect you roll on the die, the challenge die, you would do an additional damage. So for this, I would say first I need to know whether you're attacking the Centurion or an Olon. And I would recommend either a Vicious or an Area for this.
I would be attacking the Centurion, as she's the one making the hostile gesture,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll make it an area attack.
Okay. Go ahead.
This minor action, does this work in the same way, similar to D&D, where you have a free action, a movement action, and an attack action?
So it's more like you have a minor action and then a normal action. And for minor actions, there is indeed a set of things you can do. So you can aim for a minor, you can draw an item, you can move, and you can prepare. And then you have, for common conflict, you have a bunch of different things, which are, again, on page 2 of the reference PDF.
But the minor action does not, use up a turn. I can still, set the phaser and still attack at the same time?
Correct. That is, it is specifically, in order to do that with a phaser, it is the prepare minor action. But yeah, coincidentally enough, the way this attack is going to resolve itself, which is actually really stunning, and I say that, for a slight pun here, because you rolled 4 effects, it's going to affect not only the Centurion, but all of her posse. And because you rolled a 5 on the total damage, what happens here is, because they don't have any resistance, all of them get stunned immediately and just kind of crumple on the spot.
Jeez, so I'll leave some for the rest of us.
Yeah, so there you go. That's your first taste of how quick combat can go in this system.
Apologies, Commander. They were going to make an attack, and I thought it best to preempt them.
Wait, is it over already? Says Mirthrin from behind the bulkhead that he just finished ducking behind.
You are quite adept at weapon usage, Lieutenant.
I believe the humans say it's a lucky shot, sir.
Indeed. Now, perhaps we should see about detaining these people, these persons, so that they cannot come back to bite us in the ass, or the Vulcan equivalent. I don't know.
The posterior, maybe.
I want to try to detain them somehow. Whether or not we maybe find a room to lock them in.
So, Mirthrin, that bulkhead you're hiding behind, it's got a lot of piping and fiber optic cable you could probably fashion into a rope.
This fiber optic cabling's fairly strong. I mean, it would be pretty tricky for them to get out of.
See to it, Lieutenant.
Well, let's gingerly remove those disruptors from them.
As he does that, I'm going to search the Centurion to see
Okay.
if maybe she has a tricorder or data slate that I could read.
They do not. But what they do have that is of note is that they have a... How do I want to phrase this? So all of them are carrying daggers, but this particular one is carrying a dagger which might have significant meaning for you specifically. And for that, I'd like you to roll me a Insight plus Security at a difficulty of 2. And this is purely because you happen to be Vulcan. Okay. So you're not 100% sure, but you're sure enough that you can make this assumption. That's a Tal Shiar symbol on that dagger.
Interesting.
And at this point, Commander, while you were talking to the Centurion, I kind of scanned the bodies that are on the floor, as well as our now former opponents. And the ones who are dead look like they've been through a firefight. And the ones in front of us that are now on the floor, their wounds and how bad they look seem to be staged. They actually look to be in completely perfect health. They just look like they've been through some things.
Are you able to determine if the deceased Romulans were, if the energy readings come from Romulan disruptors?
That is something I can try for.
I'll say yes. You would tell that they are Romulan disruptor fire.
I was going to ask the question earlier, but then we got rolling on other stuff, so I just let it go.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. Yes, Commander. The ones who've been killed, they were killed by Romulan disruptor fire.
It would seem that these Romulans are engaging in a deceit of their own.
Or possibly whatever the people who are on this base were working on, the Tal Shiar doesn't want... Or, let me rephrase that. The ones commanded by the Centurion don't want anybody else to know about.
Most curious. What would you think about splitting up the party? Because I was thinking maybe, well, we want to get Mirthrin to the engineering, the singularity to get containment, and Beckett would be handy there because of any. I mean, if there's going to be casualties, they'll be by where the containment failed.
Well, Commander, you're in charge, but there's an ancient Terran saying that says never split up the party.
That's just... I'm not sure if that counts as a proverb.
I'm just wondering about getting to some sort of command and control center to see if we can get some more information about what's going on here.
I believe I would be of best use either at a operations center or in engine.
Then I will accompany the rest of the away team team to the engineering section, and you, Lieutenant Sono, will find any type of CNC that you can to download the relevant data or information about what exactly is happening here, or what this outpost pertains to.
Yes, sir.
Commander, would it be wise to send Lieutenant Lindholm with Lieutenant Sona?
I can see the wisdom in that, Lieutenant. Lieutenant Lindholm, you will accompany Lieutenant Sona.
Aye, sir. Yeah, he's still
And
not
hopefully
back.
the three of us don't run into something we can't handle.
All right, so I'm just gonna segregate you guys a little bit here. So you guys are there. You guys are all over here. Okay.
And I want to pick up one of those daggers. Because, well, I'm a doctor. I'm good with sharp objects.
Quite an upgrade on your scalpel there.
This is true. Experience has proven to me to never be unarmed.
Before Lieutenant Sona runs off, I want to inform her of my speculation as to the Tal Shiar involvement, so that she can keep an eye out for any pertinent data there.
Based on what records I have access to, the Tal Shiar are quite efficient at silencing unwanted dissent within the Romulan Empire. I will be careful. Thank you, sir.
Quite duplicitous indeed.
All right. So, it's actually interesting that you guys split the party in this way. I actually did prepare for this eventuality. But before we do split the party, and again, this is a system where it's a little bit easier to manage because you have communication on your person 24/7. Did you want to question your stunned captives at all?
I mean, I question how much useful information we'd get out of them.
Yeah, if they are Tal Shiar, they've been trained to resist interrogation.
And out of character, unfortunately, our interrogator is not here.
Yeah. All right. So you're just going to pretty much leave them tied up in a room somewhere.
I don't know, maybe leave a note saying, we'll come back for you once the station's not blowing up.
But one thing I will suggest is we leave them with no weapons on them.
Oh, yeah.
Agreed.
Even if we flush them out an airlock.
And
just
we
as
have
long
a
as they don't
time
have
factor too. So I mean, sitting here to beat information out of them just isn't an efficient use of that.
Right.
Besides, Starfleet doesn't do the whole beating information out of people thing.
No, that would be a Maquis thing.
No, we moralize at them.
You're not wrong. You're really not. So we'll do this then. We will do Sona first, simply because what she finds out might help the other party get to where they need to go. So Sona,
Right.
You having proven yourself more than capable of handling yourself in battle, are accompanied by Lieutenant Lindholm, and the two of you begin seeking out a working computer interface. And eventually you do indeed come across a flickering screen, but one that, if you perform a little bit of percussive maintenance, would be something you could use as an interface. However, before you can do anything on this station, you would have to break the basically the security of it. Which, you know, as you do this, Lindholm will watch your back, kind of a thing. So, in order to break the security, you need to roll me a insight plus security at a difficulty of 4.
Okay. Sight.
If
Security.
you need it, don't forget we still have 4 momentum.
Yes. And she doesn't have any cool talents to use on this. That's fine. I'm going to have to take an additional 2 dice on this.
All right, so that would be 3 momentum
That's-
gone.
Sorry, guys. 4 4d20. No focus.
Okay. So, I'm going to say you're able to get past the very rudimentary level security. Like you're able to do the user level password sort of a deal, and you're able to pull up some very basic information about the station. However, such things as to the nature of the research or projects or whatever the hell was going on in the station requires root level access, and you do not have root. Sorry.
I'm not rude.
But what's mostly important here is that you are in fact able to pull up a schematic of the station, and you are able to transmit it to the rest of the party.
Am I able to get an accurate count of life signs on board?
Yes, there are 500 Romulans on this station.
500. Okay. I'll transmit their general location to the commander and his team.
Okay. So, Panek, your group, you would receive this from Lieutenant Sona.
For 500 people aboard, this is an awfully... these corridors seem awfully deserted.
I will message back to Sona. Is that 500 living life signs?
Apparently so, sir.
Are you
they
able to...
concentrated anywhere?
That's a good question. Are they concentrated in any particular part of the station? Or
Yes, actually. They are concentrated in two main areas. The first is what is the equivalent of an engine room. There is a large gathering. And then up towards what would be ops for this station, there is a second large gathering.
all right. There appears to be a large number of the Romulans present in engineering, sirs. I would advise caution.
It would seem that we will be outnumbered. I suggest we go in without displaying any aggressive overtones. We shall have to talk our way through this one, gentlemen. And then, Sona, please direct us towards engineering.
Absolutely, sirs.
All right. So, as a mechanical kind of question, do you want Sona to remain at this terminal and direct and maybe try again to break through the security, or does she want to just take the information she's gotten and rejoin the rest of the party?
I think she should rejoin it because, given how many Romulans are still up and about, I'd hate for one of them to discover us trying to break into their root access and kind of like tip our hand prematurely to them and make them not trust us.
All right. Well, you're the commanding officer, so that happens.
I shall return.
All right. So you return with Lindholm in tow. And again, for sake of argument here, you are able to basically slave a data pad or your tricorder so that you have remote access of the computer system. Sona, you have no problem leading the away team down to the engine room without encountering some of the Romulan patrols. And as the doors of the engine room open and you all begin to, kind of sneak your way or otherwise step inside, you see that what was once this like pristine engine room is now a mess of cables, debris, injured Romulans. Just, it looks like this place has been through hell. And most importantly, as I move you guys onto this map, are the number of Romulans that are present. They range from injured to looking just fine, but as soon as one of them notices you, those that are capable all draw their weapons and point at you.
Greetings. We come in peace. I am Lieutenant Commander Pinnock of the USS Ophion. We are responding to your distress signal.
So one of the Romulans calls from the back, "Stand down. Let's hear what they have to say." And a individual steps forward and he says, "I am Major Obex, overseer of this facility. Why is Starfleet here?"
As we were traveling through the Expanse, we discovered your distress signal. It was degraded by the gravitational shift here, and we went forward to investigate. We found ourselves trapped within said gravitational rift, distortion, what have you.
It was just as well we slowed down before we came into the system. We just about bumped the nose of the ship into the station.
We have come to see about rectifying the containment drop, the dropping containment of your singularity. We have also brought a medical officer in case they are injured that need attention.
Well, I'm certainly not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, even if it is a Federation one. Yes, we have many wounded here that could use medical assistance. As for the issue of our core, and he kind of points back over his thumb at the core, which you see is actually pretty similar to what's in the picture. It's this massive ball-like entity that has begun to crack and otherwise glow under the pressure of the singularity inside. And he says, our chief engineer, before he was rendered unconscious by the sensors, was able to jury-rig a solution. It is my understanding that we have approximately 2 hours before this station and everything within several light years will be consumed by the singularity.
Well, let's see if we can't do something to extend that time, shall we? Says Merthram, stepping forward.
Okay. So before we do that, we're going to cut very quickly back to Prague on the Ophion. I need him now to roll me a additional Control plus Engineering, this time at a difficulty 2.
Oh, hang on. Where is he? There we go. Control plus Engineering, was it?
Mm-hmm. Difficulty 2.
Control Engineering, difficulty 2. Oh, no. 1 success.
So it's starting to get to the point where the warp engines and the warp coils and the main power generator of the ship, it's starting to get, I hate to say taxing again, but it is very much taxing. You're not redlining quite yet, but it's really getting to the point where if something isn't resolved within like the next hour, you are going to be redlining the engines, keeping everything in order. You might have to start shutting down non-essential systems very quickly.
Captain Skull to the away team.
Commander Pinnock here. Go.
What's the situation over there, Lieutenant Commander?
We have briefly engaged a Romulan party. They were apprehended. Now we are in direct communication with Major Obex of the facility. He seems much more disposed to our help, and we are currently trying to rectify his containment issue. How is the ship's status?
The chief here believes that we have roughly an hour until we start seeing some serious system strains. So I would suggest that you... I don't like telling you guys how to do your job, but please do it quickly.
Very well, Captain. I will see what we can do to step our timetable up.
All right. So, I think if I read the situation properly, what's going to happen here is obviously, Beckett, you're going to go help the wounded, and Merthrin, you're going to be Mr. Engineer coming to the rescue.
Nah, screw the Romulans.
While they're doing that, I'd like to kind of get this major aside and kind of question him about what's going on with these Tal Shiar.
Okay. So let's do this. We'll do it in a round robin fashion. We will start with Murthrin, and then we'll go to Beckett, and then we'll go to Panek. So we
Sona
actually,
will help. Sona will just help out whoever asks for her to help out.
Okay. So Murthrin, the way we're going to work this task of repairing the core is we're going to do what is referred to as a extended task. And basically, what an extended task is it's a series of multiple roles of similar nature, and you do a certain amount of work with each successful task. And depending on how much work you do, you can achieve what are called breakthroughs. And every extended task has a certain magnitude. And if your number of breakthroughs equals this magnitude, you are considered to have passed the extended task. So that you can track it along with me here. The work track is 15. The magnitude is 4. So what you would do is you specifically would either roll a control plus engineering or a daring plus engineering at a difficulty of 2. Others can assist you with either an insight plus science or a presence plus command.
Alrighty. Now to have some fun techno babbling. Alrighty. So I'd imagine like Murthrin sort of talks to the Romulan engineers, works out what it is they've been doing, and sort of comes up with a theory for a way to stabilize the core. And he's thinking, all these solutions that they seem to have tried all seem to have been about actively containing the core and stopping it from growing. But I'm thinking maybe we can bleed off some of the excess energy by, like, if we could increase the rate of Hawking radiation, like increase the generation of quantum particles near the edge of the singularity, that might help bleed off some of the excess mass. And it'd be a little tricky to sort of get the balance right, but if we can pull it off. So let's see, control plus engineering it was.
That or daring plus engineering.
I'll go with control because it's a slightly better.
Okay.
Alrighty.
And you said one of the rest of us can help him?
Yes. If it's specifically going to be 1, because the difficulty starts to change if more than 1 assists, you can assist Murthrin with either insight plus science or presence plus command. That being represented either you're feeding Murthrin information from your tricorder, or you are more or less wrangling what Romulan engineers are present to help out Murthrin.
Okay. If I'm able to, I will help him using, you said presence and command, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Using my talent of doctor's orders, I'm going to substitute my medicine, or substitute command with my medicine.
Okay. I'll trust you that that's how this talent is properly used, simply because I don't want to have to look it up right now.
Well, too bad. I'm already looking it up to make sure that I am right.
I mean, I'm usually very, very trustful of my players.
When you attempt a task to coordinate others or to coerce someone into taking or refraining from a specific course of action, you may use your medicine discipline instead of command.
Yeah, that'll certainly work.
The first line is why I asked if I could do it, is the coordinate others.
Oh yeah, it would apply.
So...
Yeah, let's not do jury rig, because that would be useful in that it would reduce the difficulty of the task by 2. However, the repairs only last a single scene before they break again. And that would not be very helpful.
No, it would not.
I will spend that last momentum to get an extra die, though.
Okay.
Oh, actually, hang on. When you're using determination, do you spend momentum to do that, or is it just you use the determination?
The way determination works is if you have an applicable value, you can spend your single point of determination to do various things. And what usually the most common thing for this is before you roll, you would spend the point of determination, and you would get an automatic 2 successes on your roll, in addition to whatever you then subsequently roll.
All right. This is an extended task, so I'll hold off on that.
Yeah, I was going to say, for an extended task, I would maybe hold off on determination.
Yeah, like, if it gets to a case of, we've got 1 or 2 rolls left and we need a lot of successes.
Right. So is that one there at 614, the one right above Beckett's, is that your control plus engineering? Or is that an old one? Is the roll right above Beckett's an old roll, or the?
Oh yeah, that was meant to be Pratt doing the checking the ship was still fine.
Okay, yeah. Then go ahead and roll your control plus engineering then.
All right.
Let's see what you get.
And I'm giving him 1 success.
Yep.
Yep. 2 successes.
Okay, so you get a momentum, and what you want to do now is you're going to roll 5 challenge die plus, I believe it is 2. Let me double check that real fast. Extended task, where are you? And this is, again, mostly because I'm still getting used to the system. I wanted to make sure I could still do extended tasks properly. Extended tasks. What page are you on? Yeah. So, what happens when you have a successful task is it's 2 challenge die plus the discipline that you used for this task. So, since your discipline here is engineering, you're going to be rolling me 7 total challenge die.
Alrighty. So 7d6.
Yeah, but you could also just roll the challenge die macro, and it'll handle all the effects.
Oh, is that on the sheet somewhere, or?
If you go to the macros or the collection tab, you should see the challenge dice macro available to you.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Name and chat performs macro, so challenge dice. Let's see. There we go. See if I've got this right. Yep. 7.
Okay.
That's a 4.
All right. So you would do 4 work on the track of 15, but this would be a option for me to let you know what you can do with momentum here.
Alrighty.
You can by spending 1 momentum, you can add the amount of work done by 1, or you can re-roll any number of challenge die from the current task. So you could conceivably re-roll those 3 zeros, or
I'm thinking. I'm thinking re-rolling the 3 zeros would probably have the better chance of doing more.
Okay. So,
because we'll probably get at least 1 of those, and if we can get 2 or 3, even better.
Even better, yeah. All right, so go down to momentum 1 and go ahead and re-roll those 3 zeros.
So just challenge dice macro again, but with 3 dice this time.
Correct.
Yep, another 2.
Another 2. So this works the same way injuries kind of do, where if you do 5 or more work, you achieve a breakthrough. Nice. You are already 1 out of 4 on your way to completing this extended task. So narratively what happens is you begin coordinating your efforts with the other Romulan engineers to contain and wrangle this singularity to bleed off the excess energy into the surrounding space. And even though you aren't an expert on Romulan technology, with Beckett's help, he is able to make it so that the Romulans helping you are more concerned with, actually helping you than turning their nose up at Starfleet thinking you know better, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
And sure enough, you are able to begin bleeding off the excess energy. So you've bought yourself some time, but you're still detecting that the singularity is trying to grow in size.
Well, it's given us more breathing room, but think. No, this. Yeah, the downsides of not fully knowing the workings of a system you're working on.
Well, to give
Or
you
like
some
the
time.
downsides of using a black hole as a power source.
I mean, we use antimatter in our reactors, so we're not exactly in a position to judge.
But it's a black hole!
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
All right. So before you do your next check here, I did want to give Panek some time to converse with Obex. So Panek, you pull Obex aside, and Obex just kind of waits for you to ask what you will.
Well, I borrow the Tal Shiar dagger that Beckett picked up, and I kind of go up to him and say, Major, a moment aside, if you please.
Of course.
And then I kind of say to him, it comes to my attention, Major, that a loss of containment is not quite the only problem you are currently experiencing. And then I discreetly and non-threateningly show him the Tal Shiar dagger. And then I inform him we previously apprehended a group of 5 of what I believe to be Tal Shiar agents in a corridor. They are currently detained.
I see. And he kind of holds out his hand, almost like he's asking for the dagger.
And I'm kind of hesitant to give it back to him, and I say, halfway I say, Major, are you perhaps concerned that other of your staff are embedded agents?
I believe, as you humans say, that the shoe, or as the Federation says, the shoe is on the other foot. Those were my men that you ran across.
So you are aware of the Tal Shiar aboard, and perhaps in fact Tal Shiar yourself.
He doesn't say anything, but he just kind of looks at you in that Romulan way that suggests that he's got this air of superiority about him.
I hand back the dagger to him, but I kind of am wary now. If I may ask, why is it that your men killed another group of Romulans that we stumbled across?
There's a noticeable silence. And then he finally says, I do not believe that information is relevant to Starfleet at this time.
Indeed. And then I just kind of sit there and stare at each other a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the topic drops. I mean, he's not going to tell me anything, and I'm not going to find anything else out from him.
Probably not. So we cut back to Beckett. Beckett, did you want to continue helping Murthrin, or did you want to maybe start tending to the wounded?
I guess I will start tending to the wounded. Hopefully, Panek will be done with his talk, and maybe he can help.
Oh yeah, I'll help wherever I
Murthrin.
can.
I can help, but my skills are not the best in those areas.
In engineering.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will start tending to the wounded.
Okay.
1 in engineering.
Mostly because I want you guys to have some momentum. Go ahead and roll me a control plus medicine at a difficulty of 1, just as kind of a blanket test to see how well you do at treating these Romulan patients.
Xenobiology would work as a focus.
Yep. All right, you get a momentum. Good job. So most of the injuries you are having to deal with are, like some broken limbs, some phaser burn, or not some phaser, some disruptor burns, and other kind of injury or energy-related injury kind of things. There's a few cases where, had you not intervened, the person might have started going into shock, but since you are such a skilled doctor, you are able to prevent that from happening. And as you kind of, look up during your work, you realize that Major Obex is looking at you with almost like this sense of respect, or about as much respect as a Romulan can give to one who is not a Romulan himself.
I would hope so, being I'm patching up his men. But I
mean, that expression is almost neutral.
yeah.
As I'm helping Mirthrin,
Mm-hmm.
I sidle up next to him and very quietly tell him, Lieutenant, it would appear that this is a Tal Shiar outpost. I do not wish to distract you from your work, as it has high priority. But if you were to sense any duplicity to come from the Major or any of his men, I would like warning. They cannot be pleased that we have discovered their outpost.
I mean, and Bertrand sort of looks a little embarrassed. To be honest, it's kind of just a general background radiation of duplicitousness. It's hard to pick out anything specific.
I see.
Would that be fair to say, ELH?
Oh, yeah. That's a fair thing.
Yeah.
If you were to sense a turning, however, in their disposition to us, I would appreciate some forewarning.
I feel confident that I would notice if they were getting ready to get the jump on us. Probably.
Okay.
Maybe. Make sure your phase is set on stun, though.
All right.
Stun.
Yeah, and just a small side note here is that the default to all attacks is non-lethal. If ever you do want to make your attack lethal, that is something you have to both tell me and something that causes me to get some threat when that happens. But anyway, let's return to the extended task. So, I then need you to roll me another Control plus Engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see what happens.
Let's see how well I do in the roll before I decide what piece of technobabble he comes up with next.
Okay.
Control plus Engineering. I'll spend a momentum to get 3 dice. And let's see what I get with that. Oh,
wow.
Nice.
You get the
4
momentum
successes.
back. Actually, you get 2 momentum back, yeah. So obviously you're going to succeed, but let's go ahead and do the challenge die to see just how effective your repairs are.
All right. So that's
7 again.
7 again. Oop.
Basically, you're engineering plus 2.
Oh yeah. Well, engineering plus 2. Well, in that case, it's 8.
Your engineering's 5.
Wait, hang on. Did I get that wrong? Oh, so it is. Sorry, I was reading that number wrong.
I was going to say, as far as I know, you're not allowed to have above a 5.
Yes, no, I was zoomed so far out, the 5 was blurring together into a 6.
Yeah, no, it happens all the time.
Yeah. Luckily, the macros haven't been making that mistake.
Oh, yeah. That's why I love these things. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So that would be another breakthrough.
Ooh, nice.
So how would you like to flavor this breakthrough?
How outlandish do you mind me getting with my selection?
Oh, go for it. I will certainly entertain many variants of technobabble.
All right. Wait. Sort of clicks his fingers. I have an idea. It's risky, But if we pull it off, it would probably solve most of the problem. It sort of turns to the Romulan engineers. Yeah, like actually, let me start that again. Yeah, basically talking about setting things on stun got them thinking. Wait, if we stun the station, which doesn't make sense, but as I'm about to explain, so these artificial singularities, they're essentially micro black holes. Yes.
They all nod.
Well, what if we induce the black hole to temporarily spawn into a wormhole?
The amount of energy that would require.
It would require a lot of energy, but if we were even if it was only for a brief amount, we could bleed a massive amount of mass out of the singularity while it's in that state. I mean, we don't even need to aim it in a particular direction. We just need to have a wormhole to somewhere.
And one of the Romulan engineers looks really excited. He says, and we can actually use the excess energy that's already being generated and cause a cascade reaction.
Exactly. Feed it back into the system until it punches a hole.
I mean, if we fail on this, it'll probably blow us all to hell, but we won't be around long enough to complain about it, I suppose.
We'll get exploded before we get imploded.
So yeah, you do just that. You basically turn the black hole in on itself. And back on the Ophion, Prague is going to notice and, of course, report to the captain that the gravitational intensity has begun to weaken. Not enough to free the ship, but to the point where you're no longer in danger, or at least immediate danger, of structural failure.
That's good to know. I always like it when my ship doesn't fly apart at the seams. Thank you, Prague.
Yeah.
I'll ask for an update from the away team.
Lieutenant Commander Pinnock here.
Is everything improving over there?
Lieutenant Commander Murthrin seems to have devised a possible solution. We shall see if it works.
Wonderful. I look forward to not blowing up.
Captain, and then a little quieter, I must inform you that this is a Tal Shiar station, and that we have run across quite a few that are not very happy to see us.
Great. Well, we will.
I would suggest
plan
that
for a quick exit when this is all said and done.
I would suggest you maintain a constant communication lock with us, and perhaps be ready to transport if necessary, if and when the gravitational distortion ceases.
I'll coordinate that with our transporter chief. Thanks for the heads up.
Understood, Captain. Pinnock out.
And I'll send orders to the transporter room.
Okay. So they're still not able to get a good pattern lock because the interference is still pretty bad, but they're certainly working on the problem. So Murthrin, it is time for another task here. I think you know what to do at this point.
Alrighty. And since we are sort of this far out, I think... Actually, the determination roll, that's only for the D20s, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Alright, in that case, I think I will hold off on... let me think. The difficulty 2 task, right?
Yeah, it's still difficulty 2.
Alrighty.
No, the circumstances have not changed, and you haven't rolled a complication, so it just remains at 2.
I say it's working, but we're still not bleeding quite enough power away from the singularity. Think. What uses a massive amount of energy? Think. Does this station have weapons?
It does.
Alrighty. Are they... Let's see. Do they need a target to fire, or can they just fire in a direction?
They're like any weapon on a starship or a starbase. They can fire at any point in space that they wish.
Alrighty. One second. taps to Commander. Commander, how do you feel about not? How do you feel about a bit of a disruptor fire laser show?
So,
This is to the captain.
oh, okay.
Oh, to me.
Yeah.
Let me guess. You need to bleed off more energy, and you want to do it?
Yes. Are you able to maneuver the ship into a weapon blind spot?
I'll look at our new helm officer. Do we have any movement whatsoever?
No, sir.
No, we can't move the ship, so please don't hit us.
Alrighty.
Tactical raise shields.
Yeah. 1 second. I'll see if I can. I'll see if I can turn off like that particular band of disruptors.
Okay. So go ahead and make your roll.
Yeah, so basically he's going to look and go, okay, let's turn off those disruptors so we don't hit our own ship, and then just fire everything off out into space at maximum sort of firing speed.
And Darude Sandstorm plays in the distance. Anyway.
Alright, control plus engineering.
Mm-hmm.
How much momentum do we have?
3.
Do we want to spend all of it to try and finish all in one last thing, or save some?
It would be a pretty flashy last thing.
Yeah, getting extra. Let me start again. Getting extra successes gets extra challenge dice, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Just the one momentum then, and then if that fails, I still have determination.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
4 successes.
So, let's go ahead and roll the challenge die to see how well you do on those. Wow, back-to-back 3s and a 7. Wow.
Do we get 1 or 2 momentum back?
2. So pretty much what I joked about. There is very much a disruptor light show from the station, as pretty much every disruptor bank and every available weapon on the station fires out into space all at once. And from the Ophion, it is a spectacular sight. There's a few near misses that kind of graze your shields, but thankfully don't actually hit any. But because you guys got a 7, and because your work track is now completed, you have stabilized the core.
And it's like, yes, down, and we have a stable core.
And right on cue, the helm officer currently at the helm of the Ophion says, "Sir, we have movement." And the transporter chief says, "Sir, I've got a lock."
Wonderful.
Good work, Lieutenant.
Bridge to Commander Panek.
Panek here, Captain. It seems
we see that these situation appears to be steady. Do you need a beam out?
Not quite yet, Captain. I will inform you if we do.
Very well.
And then I'll congratulate Mirthrin and approach Major Oback.
Sort of Mirthrin's device. I was kind of hoping to transport off straight away before they got the tractor beams back online.
So, Obex looks very pleased, and he says, I see that the Federation's knack for engineering is once again unprecedented. However, and he goes for his weapon. And Sona, I think you know what you need to do.
Beam out!
Yep. Captain, we energize, please.
So the transporter beams you all out just as... Oh, go ahead.
Aren't you going to answer yourself? Sona asked the captain for a beam out?
Captain, we need to beam out. Transporter room, get them out of there.
All right. It's always great when you have to talk to yourself.
Yes.
So yeah, just as the Major and several of the engineers you literally were just working with go for disruptors and discharge, you beam away without any injury to yourself. And the transporter chief calls up to the bridge. Sir, I've got them all.
Good. Helm, 180 degrees. Get us out of here. Warp 8.
And sure enough, the Ophion turns around in space and screams away like a bat out of hell. So you're -1 Type 11 shuttle now, but you can get another one.
Oh yeah, we left that on the station.
Can we remotely wipe it?
If you want to roll me a daring plus engineering or a daring plus security at a difficulty of 3, I might say yes.
As soon as we get back on board, yeah, I'm gonna tell Mirthrin, the shuttle.
Right, let me just broadcast the destruct codes. All right. What would this be? Daring plus engineering?
Daring plus engineering.
Yeah, I can't really justify control here.
And by all means, spend as much momentum as you want.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to spend 3 momentum to get 2 extra dice.
Okay.
Applicable focuses. Computers, I guess?
I would allow it. Yeah, why not?
Oh, just
wow.
as well. A crit and a complication.
Oh god. So here's what's going to happen. As the ship jumps to warp, and I'm imagining this is all, kind of happening all at once. So as the Ophion jumps to warp, you transmit the destruct code. And either just because the station was damaged or simply because the shuttle is imploding its antimatter reactor, as you warp away, you detect the station blowing up behind you.
Nice.
Yeah, and Mirthrin sort of goes, oh, because I think Mirthrin's like watching the sensors, and he goes, oh my, oh.
And the Mirthrin maneuver has been invented.
Yeah, so I think, Captain, turns out when you detonate an antimatter core within close proximity of a singularity reactor, and at about that point the sensors start blaring as they pick up the destructive gravitational wave as the station disintegrates.
Mm-hmm. But luckily,
you're...
I swear that was an accident.
What's done is done. Let's worry about getting us to safe distance first, and then we will figure out how much reports we have to file on this.
Yeah, I'll get. Yeah. Let's do that. I'm going to schedule a session with the counselor. Yeah, sort of closing. I just killed 500 Romulans.
I pat Mirthrin on the back, and just kind of shrug as I walk out of the transporter room and say, "Accidental genocide," and then walk out the door.
That's not.
Sona, on her way out, does a very similar maneuver, but it's very mechanical.
There.
And she comments, "Do not worry. They are just Romulans. I am sure everything will be fine."
Combining the two comments together, they're just Romulans. I'm sure everything will be fine. And then walks out the door. That is classic.
All right. So if you haven't guessed, we have reached the end of the session. So I did want to very quickly open up if you wanted to do any immediate RP on now that you're back aboard the ship. But if not, I will call it to a close. So any last minute bits of RP that we might want to do?
Yeah. I mean, that was honestly a lot worse than I was expecting. Like, I was expecting we just destroy their hangar bay.
I actually rolled a D100 here in real life, and I rolled 100. So.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Kinect will file a report on all of this and stipulate as to whether or not this has consequences within the sector, about whether or not.
Oh god. Oh, this is going to be an interstellar incident.
Oh yeah, they're gonna scan and find traces of Federation weapons and Federation.
Well, no, they
anti-matter
won't.
core.
But okay, like even if they didn't find any Federation tech in the debris, the Federation's latest warship just went into the Expanse, and then a secret Tal Shiar station gets blown up.
Well, hopefully that helps us, because maybe Romulan Senate doesn't know about this place.
I mean, that's a good point, I guess.
I'm saying the Federation's newest spaceship leaves an area and a secret base blows up. I think that is a good thing for us.
Well, we've just pissed off the Tal Shiar, that's for sure.
When aren't they pissed off?
Truth, but now they're pissed off in a focused direction.
Damn it! We just got out of a war.
And on the other side, because we knew because the Federation had learned about this facility, chances are it would have been decommissioned and transported elsewhere anyways.
Well, yeah, but like
still, that's 500 Romulans that you've killed.
Good first day.
Good first day indeed. All right, so
I mean, the worst part is Murthrin can't even be like, "Oh God, I've killed someone," because I mean, he's been in a war.
Yeah, it's just one of those days where you go to the counselor and she just looks up and says, "You killed another 500, huh? Well, just sit on down." Anyway, I think that's probably a good point to end the stream. So stick around, guys. We'll have after session note taking, but the stream. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.